Hello and welcome to Honey Badger Radio number 34. Shit Feminists Say, Current Year Edition. I'm your host for today's show, Brian Martinez, and I'm joined by other Honey Badgers, the regulars. So we have Hannah.
Hello.
Hi, Hannah.
Hello.
And we have Anna. Just get up.
Hello.
Mike. Mr. Mike.
I'm not here. I was never here. You can't prove anyone was ever anywhere. Hi.
Karen.
Oh, don't make me unmute. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'm really cranky. I'm sorry.
Yeah, she had some invasive stuff happen to her today.
I was raped by an ultrasound wand today.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and
Even when Canadians are cranky, they apologize for it, though.
Yeah, well.
it's our way. It's our nature.
I'm sorry, but fuck you, Brian.
Yeah.
No, everything went fine. It was good, but.
Good. You still have that oil on your belly or whatever?
On my stomach. No, I don't.
Oh no, it's a wand, as in like
else.
startable.
It was a transvaginal ultrasound. It was the rapey kind. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Yeah.
So you had your natural oils were probably plenty then.
Oh
they didn't need any special.
Right.
Brian, some of those techs are not as gentle as the others. It really takes a professional to know how to move that wand.
Have you been hanging out with my boyfriend, Brian? Because that sounds something.
No, but
I would say.
he and I naturally get along. I mean.
Yeah, you guys kind of do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very well. Now I know why. Both fucking perverts.
For a second there, you almost gave a fuck, Karen. Just for a second.
You know, I really don't. I really don't. I'm mostly cranky because I just got back from the mortgage broker and only to find out that, oh yeah, we have till March 1st to decide this. So like, why did I fucking go today?
Why did you?
Why did they come in at 6 o'clock on Thursday, December 10th, if we don't have to decide till March 1st?
I think everybody's going to forget that I'm even here, so I'll just introduce myself. I'm
I was
Allison.
getting to that.
Oh, okay, all right, sorry. Oh.
No, and lastly, but certainly not leastly, is that word? We have Allison.
I mean, it's 2015, Brian. It's time.
It is time.
It's about time.
Before we get into the show, I want to say something about 2015. Since we're coming upon the last 20 days of this year, and we've been learned that it is a very important year. It's so important that simply stating the year itself can answer any and all questions. For the rest of the year, I put forth a challenge to you. If anyone asks you any question that starts with the word why, as in why are you doing X, answer it's 2015. You will stump everybody because they cannot say that you're wrong about the thing that you had just said until the year ends. So that's what I'm doing. Just today, someone asked me why I didn't replace the toilet roll in the bathrooms at my job, and I said, because it's 2015. And then I walked right out.
Okay, I got one. Why don't we have hoverboards yet?
Because it's...
But we do.
See what I've done there?
We do have hoverboards. They're just expensive and they don't work very well.
Yeah.
And they only hover over water, right?
And now there are now
metallic surfaces.
There are now self-balancing hoverboards.
Yeah, but they only hover over metallic surfaces.
Yeah, they're still not like the hoverboards in the movie.
Yeah, no, and they still take like huge amounts of freaking battery power in order to generate the electromagnetism that's required in order to hover them above the metallic surface. So.
But we do have them. They do exist.
Yes. So the answer is because it's 2015.
Okay.
It's the question that's wrong, Mike.
Why is it 2015?
Because it's 2015.
My God, that one works.
It does work. It's a foolproof question. Next time you guys take your exams, just answer all questions. It's 2015, and you'll have to get an A. Okay, so
Well, what do you get if you multiply 6 by 9?
because it's 2015.
No,
It's
no.
the answer to life, the universe, and everything.
It's 42.
The answer is blowing in the wind.
Or maybe it's the
You
question.
get blowing in the wind.
The question is 2015. The answer is 42. And
Yes.
to show your workings is it's blowing in the wind, Bob. I don't know.
Well, if you added 20 to 15, you would get 35. And then if you added another 7, you would get 42.
We need a 7.
Yes.
Somebody find a 7 somewhere.
Yes, we need a 7. Get a 7. Like appropriate it from somewhere. Appropriate it from the appropriate 7 culture.
There are
And
6
send
of
it.
us.
That's
here's a
really
7.
one more than we have. It's us plus the chat.
There you
Okay.
go.
Here's our 7.
All right. Well, if we
Final
had Theron tonight, that would be a 7.
Lucky number Theron. Okay, so
Yeah,
I
let's.
guess let's get into it because we're squidding out of control. So we're gonna look at basically our favorite feminist quotes of the year. We're gonna look back and just see how much we're yet to learn. And we're gonna start. I'm gonna go in alphabetical order. So I'm gonna start with Anna Cherry. Tell us about your favorite feminist quotes. Maybe we'll spark a conversation around each
Okay.
one.
You realize that L is before N, right?
What? I
You're
said Anna.
really not helping my thesis. That
I don't.
alphabetical. No, okay, never mind. Just go ahead.
Oh, okay. Anna.
All right, I was officially confused, so that's a perfect time to start the show. I looked at this assignment project, whatever, as a little more of a general things I hate that feminists say, since I don't keep up with every tiny little thing and screenshot. I'm not that person. But I do have a few fun screenshots here and there that I did save because they're just exemplary of the larger problem that I have with feminism. So the shit feminists say is what gets them in trouble with everyone who doesn't already buy into the dogma. If only equality of sexes was what everyday feminists were communicating. If only acceptance and inclusiveness were the messages they spread every day. If only. More and more women who would identify as moderate feminists show their true colors of their political movement and their own worldview by engaging in openly misandrous dialogue. Disposability of men and disregard for their experience is the forefront of third-wave feminism, especially as seen on social media. Now, feminist philosophers and journalists who identify as feminists are seen sporting male tier shirts and cups, writing articles in the morning that demand taking agency away from men, and articles in the evening that demonize men for the perception of them taking away other people's agency. By changing thermostat temperature or wearing a loud shirt, those your standard human rights violations banned by the Geneva Convention. Rampant misandry in the feminist community is the biggest and most often repeated shit that feminists say, even when they think they're being moderate. And here's some examples from Twitter and the hashtag #KillAllMen, that lovely little thing. Not endorsing that we kill all men, some of my best friends, etc., but reducing men to 1 in 4 would solve many of society's problems.
Oh.
Archery early tomorrow morning, preparing for when it's time to kill all men. And, whoops, hold on, my messages are moving around. All right, I don't know whether to thank you for this before or after I kill all men. And these men are a fucking joke. Shut them up and let them bloody speak. I guess I'm assuming some women that the guy was trying to shut up. And, of course, hashtag kill all men. There's just so many more once you look at the hashtag kill all men.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, there's a wall of text from the Super Bowl commercial in which our feminist darling Sarah Silverman said, sorry, it's a boy. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, over 15 comments just on this one wall of everybody agreeing with her and saying how amazing it is that she said, sorry, it's a boy, because they just relate. She never disappoints, and it was spiritual when she said, sorry, it's a boy. And it's the best thing to happen in the Super Bowl so far. And they're all agreeing with it. And also, someone, someone was like, if I were OBGYN, I would say the exact same thing because it's perfect. I feel you, Sarah. So that's good. And of course, the second biggest problem with shit feminists say, especially the younger generation of feminism 3.0, have completely parted with the ability to reason and ability to apply the same consequences to their own behavior that they expect of the other gender. The postmodernist spaghetti bowl that is their mind is particularly troublesome because we are erasing future generations' capability of rational thought, and thereby prematurely and unnecessarily plunging ourselves into another dark age. Lack of ability to resolve paradox is crucial for logical thought and advancement of civilization. And yet we have things like this tweet. Can't believe what happened. Just because I have some drinks and say yes does not mean I consented. Fucking rapist piece of shit. And the great art of the girl that is bikini clad wearing sunglasses next to a completely burqa'd woman. And it says, they're looking at each other and thinking, everything's covered but her eyes. What a cruel male-dominated culture. And the other one's thinking, nothing's covered but her eyes. What a cruel male-dominated culture. So it's like the exact opposite of each other, yet you can never please feminism, and pretty much everything they say is horribly misandrous and horribly nonsensical and is hypocritical, and it's just all of it. And these are my thoughts on that. I think that way of thinking, especially given to newer generations of young girls, and how little sense they make, is like we're headed down a really dangerous road with our lack of ability to think as women. More and more girls just cannot think, and they're trying to make boys and everybody else around them to not think and follow dogma instead. So that's a really dangerous combination. So that's it for me.
But Anna, I understand that hashtag kill all men, that was just, that was done ironically. That was satirical. They didn't really want to kill all men. Some of their best friends were men. There's nothing hateful about that.
Well, we should satirically, because when you do a hashtag Gamergate, that means you want to kill all women, because it works like that. That's really,
The same feminists that got upset at being criticized for supposed, comedic hashtag kill all men, just went ape shit over shoot a feminist in the face. Hashtag shoot a feminist in the face. And they went ape shit over hashtag spank a feminist, which actually was not about physical spanking, but about online defeat when you defeat them in a debate online.
Wrecked.
So,
Wrecked.
they've been wrecked. And they just automatically treated both of those as very serious, intentional, and intended threats. Like we're definitely going to go out and all get firearms and hunt down feminists, and specifically in the face, shoot them in the face.
They don't even need that. Ethics in gaming is scares them.
Yeah, they don't even need that. But the fact is, they really they act like the only people in the world who can use ironic humor are feminists, and then it excuses every nasty thing they say, and they'll say things in seriousness, and then it's like, oh, just kidding, kill all men because men are the most evil thing in the world. Just kidding, wasn't that funny? Ha ha ha.
Two things I want to say. One, I think of all the ones you put out there, my favorite, Anna, is the I can't believe what happened just because I have some drinks and say yes does not mean I consented. Fucking rapist piece of shit. That is the most mind-blowing tweet about rape I've ever seen, and you win to me for that one because I didn't even think about that. Secondly, it's interesting that you mentioned ethics in games journalism. Have you noticed that when feminists and social justice warriors are talking about Gamergate and they're trying to paint them in a negative light, they actually use the phrase ethics in games journalism as a way to slander them?
It's social justice, I think that's their little nudge that they're how social justice warriors is a bad thing to us.
Yeah.
I think they're using it ironically, I think, which is you guys, I know you think you're using it ironically in your little in-group, but nobody besides your little in-group knows that you're using it ironically. So to everybody around you, you're literally saying you're denigrating ethics in gaming journalism. That's what it looks like, assholes. You're so dumb.
Yeah, well, they're trying to say that, when they say it, they're trying to say you guys in Gamergate actually don't give a fuck about ethics in games journalism. That's why they say things like, actually, it's about ethics in games journalism is a way to attack Gamergate. Even, what was it? She was like a politician that was on the Colbert show, and we did like a rant Zerker about it, and she said, why don't men shut up once in a while? You remember that, Karen, right?
Yeah.
And then she said at the end of her long list of like things, she said, and ethics in games journalism. And that was clearly a jab at Gamergate. And she was using it in a way to, it was pretty clear. So, yeah.
She was genuinely advancing that notion. You can't use the word misandry ironic if you don't believe that misandry exists. You can't use it ironically. And you can't use it if you actually do hate men. Like, that's impossible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, like honestly, like what are we dealing with here? Like, I want to share my one freaking beautiful quote, right? Clementine Ford, I have all the power in the world. That's how I can have men fired at will. It is all my design. And then somebody tweets back at her, 12 articles that you hate men, so is admitting you got them fired really that much of a burden? And she said, and this is in response to a controversy over her getting a man fired for calling her a slut, if I had my way, all men would be fired into the sun. And for an even more fucked up feminist quote of the year, and I won't be able to actually reproduce it in its entirety, it was from a feminist who loves to comment on my videos. Her name is My Lampstand. And she left a big, long, huge freaking diatribe of a comment aimed at me and in the middle of it, and I wish I had taken a screenshot, I really do, she accused me of, she essentially said, I know you're training you've been training your daughter to perform fellatio since she was 10 years old, since that's all you think women are good for.
Wow.
And I responded like, what the fuck? And then she went back and edited her comment and removed that.
That's pretty fucked up.
I will kill you. I just threatened my husband with death.
Yeah.
Ironically.
It was a threatoid.
Okay, well, here's the other thing about, like, today I did an ironic rant about women not being able to be raped by men. And it was facetious. And I was mocking the attitude that men can't be raped by women because biology. Yeah. Now, that was facetious and it was ironic. But that was because I was mocking another attitude that I felt was wrong. So what are they mocking when they do kill all men? Like, are there hashtags that say kill all women? Like, is there any group on the planet who wants to kill women? Like, just women. Like, is there any, like, terrorist group that says, we just want to kill women? Aside from Gamergate, of course. Or is there any even small enclave of lunatics who basically said their mission statement is to kill women?
Well, there was one. Peter Nolan, TMCR, whatever guy. Wasn't he mentioning that he wants to, the only recourse for men left is, like, killing all women or killing women in general? There was, like, one single person.
No. His suggestion wasn't that men's recourse was to kill women. His suggestion was that until men start killing the women who have wronged them, essentially until men start doing the battered women's syndrome thing, only in reverse, the battered men's syndrome thing, and killing the women that have wronged them, nothing will be done.
But that's one.
You're right. Well, the thing about that whole thing in general is that that's part of the problem of feminism is that we don't have anybody threatening women in the Western world. We don't have anyone doing anything. They don't even dare wear half-naked women on their shirts anymore or say anything about women in a workplace. Men have been stepping on eggshells for decades, and now it's even worse. And feminism keeps getting its way. Women are being threatened less and less and less, so they're trying to take more and more and more and becoming more and more ridiculous about their demands. That's actually a symptom of how much they were given already. It's got how much they nitpick at things that don't even matter. And my biggest thing is, really quickly, we need to substitute the word black for whatever group somebody's talking about. And if it sounds racist, don't fucking say that about that group. So that's the thing about men. We assume such frivolities, or not assume, but we allow ourselves as a society such frivolously neglectful and violent attitudes towards men that it's like, have you ever stopped to substitute any other gender group or race in there and see how horrible that sounds?
Yeah, kill all Jews. Oh, I'm just being silly.
What attitude are they mocking? That's the thing. Like, there is no hashtag kill all women. There are no books being written by scholars who get speaking invitations saying we should cull women down to 10% of the population. Like, if it was erotic and satirical, it has to be satirizing something.
When has there ever been a war cry along the lines of "We must kill their women are dangerous"? Like, ever?
Well, that's the issue with feminism. It doesn't have to actually exist for them to complain as if it does. And they've got this nice little built-in hypothesis that they call a theory that has never been proved, that they can't support without circular reasoning, that gives them their platform for every single complaint they have. All they have to do is fall back on patriarchy theory. And it doesn't matter that it's not kill all women. They treat it as enslave all women, abuse all women, rape all women. They have all these various means or methods by which it's treated as equal to kill all men, especially considering feminists claim that rape is worse than death. In which I beg to differ, and authoritatively, because I've done both, or experienced both, I should say. I haven't killed anybody or raped anybody, but I've been dead and I've been raped, and I really don't like being dead. Worse. It's definitely worse, and it sucks. So this is where they're coming from. They don't have to have an equivalent. They just pretend they have an equivalent, or they treat something that's not equivalent as an equivalent, and there you go.
Well, yeah, but there's no rape all women hashtag.
Is there?
I don't know.
No, I don't think there's a rape all women hashtag. Is there a fucking somebody search it up?
Oh, I'll look, but I doubt it. I mean, if there was, we'd all know about it, right? Because it would have been like all over Slate.
Yeah, even if they're like
HuffPo or
freaking tweets under it,
I was gonna say, if there is a rape, if there's no tweets under it, it's not a hashtag.
No, but if there was like 15 tweets under a rape all women hashtag, we'd have heard about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless they're all tweets saying something along the lines of, "What if somebody created hashtag rape all women?"
Yeah.
But there is. There's a hashtag rape all women, and it is. A lot of it seems to be a response to kill all men.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
This is like a fucking race to the bottom.
It is. It is. It's kind of sad, actually.
Yeah, this is hilarious. Because only an MRA would take that seriously, holds in laughter, just like only feminists would take rape all women. And so there's people that are like responding to both sides with that, and they're treating rape all women as an equivalent to kill all men.
Yeah.
Because it has to be like like I said, rape is worse than death, to feminists.
Oh, whatever.
Or
It's,
equivalent.
Uh,
But with this,
which is why a gun can be used to obtain compliant, because apparently, even when given a choice
I
between
know.
rape and death, women choose the one that's worse, right?
Yeah, no, this is what gets me, right? And this is one of the things when I was talking to the chick from Marie Claire who did that article on us, right? And she was saying, that rape was just like the most horrible thing that she could imagine. And I was like, oh, really? Really? So, okay, so you got your 3-year-old kid, and you got somebody holding a gun to that kid's head who says, let me have sex with you or I'm going to kill your child. What would you do? Right? And she says, well, I guess I would, let him. And I'm like, so you can imagine something worse than being raped, right? You can.
So it doesn't have to be the worst thing in the world to be something bad.
It'd be bad.
That's just, we can fully acknowledge that rape is bad without making it, without belittling other terrible things that happen to people.
We actually have
But
police
feminists can't.
We actually have police officers, right, who suggest to, and this is one of the things that RAIN, Rape and Incest National Network, Rape, Abuse, and Incest National Network, they did an extensive sort of info list on physical and verbal resistance and how it is a successful way, it is the most successful way to prevent an attempted rape from becoming a completed rape, and that they recommend women verbally and physically resist. Yell, make a lot of noise, scream, kick, punch, bite, all of that, everything you can do. Don't worry about getting hurt most of the time. Most of the time.
Yeah, most of the time.
If a rapist is going to kill you, right, he was probably going to kill you anyway.
There are certain circumstances under which you don't, though. If someone's pointing a gun at your head,
yes,
that's a different story.
But this is
and people acknowledge that, and then feminists speak as if all situations where advice has been given to resist, like an unarmed person attempting to dominate you in order to get you into a position where you can't resist, that is in reference to trying to fight back against a gun, and it's not.
What drives me crazy, though,
can't give an honest argument to that.
There are police agencies. There are police agencies who recommend to women that they do not fight back in order to avoid physical injury. Well, okay, so rape is not an injury now. Rape is not an injury. I thought it was worse than death. I thought it was on par with death. I thought it was the worst thing that could happen to a woman. Why are police recommending that women submit to the greater injury to avoid the lesser one?
Yeah. If it's the worst thing in the world that can happen to you, then you would fight back to the death.
And watch how it lines up, right? Is assault worse than death? No. Is grievous bodily harm worse than death? No. Is war worse than death? No. Okay, so all three of these things, by the way, are things that happen to men more than women, and none of them are worse than death. Is rape worse than death? Yes. Funny that, isn't it? And are you defining rape as something that only happens to women by men? That's also funny, isn't it? It's the only crime that's worse than death, and it's the only crime you define that can be only committed by men and on women.
Yeah.
It's funny how that works, isn't it?
It is. It really is. I just, like that. Realistically, there are like, I don't know, probably like 100 things that I would rather be raped than, right? I'd rather be raped than die of cancer before my youngest is an adult, right? I would rather be raped than like lose my house and everything that I own and live with my kids in a fucking cardboard box, right? I would rather be raped than watch one of my kids die of leukemia, right?
Or anything else.
Yeah.
One guy who said he'd rather be raped than falsely accused.
Yeah.
And when someone challenged him on that, he said, "Well, I've experienced both." And
honestly,
silence.
Yeah. Well, I've never been falsely accused of sexual violence, but I've been falsely accused before, and it is a particularly horrible experience. And part of the experience is very similar to the experience of that the feminists describe more than anything of not being believed after you've been raped and you try to get help or you try to get justice and you can't prove your case and people doubt you because they like the person that you're accusing or some other such thing. It's a very similar experience being falsely accused and offering evidence against the accusation. When you offer evidence against the accusation, you are accused of attacking the person who has attacked you with an accusation. You literally, there's a threat narrative where you're the bad guy because you are the one who's accused. So you're already treated as if you have done harm to this other person. And if it was a false accusation of because rape is a taboo, like a social taboo that doesn't really have very many equals to it. So it's not just an ordinary false accusation. It is now a false accusation of a violation of a taboo to somebody else's detriment, and it's got to be 100 times worse than just being falsely accused of doing something that other people object to.
Well, what I always say is that when someone rapes you, they hold you down, and for 20 minutes or half an hour or 45 minutes or 12 hours or whatever, they make you submit to what they want, right? And then even if you don't get justice after that, even if you get no justice after that, the rest of your life is your own, right? You have ways of healing. You have your autonomy back, right? When you're falsely accused, it's not one person that's holding you down. It's one person that's holding you down, and then there's an entire system around them also holding you down, right? And that can last for years, right?
There's an entire system around them beating on you.
Yeah.
It's not just this. I've watched friends go through this, and one of them was falsely accused of rape, and it's not just holding you down and a bunch of other people holding you down. It's the one person holding you down and a lot of other people beating on you. It's a lot of other people not just accusing you, but defaming your character, not allowing you to just exist on your own. You can't go anywhere. You can't do anything without fear that you're going to be attacked for what you're accused of having done.
Well, and
of course,
if you're raped, you don't go on some rape victim registry where you can't get a job again, right, for the rest of your life.
Well, and that's it. If you're falsely accused, even if you're falsely accused and you never get convicted, there's the fear that somebody's going to physically assault you. There's the fear that this is going to come back and at some point you will be incarcerated. And I hate that feminists treat having traumatic memories as being the same as being in a jail cell.
Yeah.
I have traumatic memories. If I want to go to the grocery store, I can go to the grocery store. If I want to get in a car and drive someplace, I can get in a car and drive someplace. If I want to stay home, I can stay home. And when I'm at home, I can decide whether I'm going to be on the computer, whether I'm going to go to the bathroom, whether I'm going to have something to eat. I don't eat on somebody else's schedule. I don't have to watch what I don't want to watch on television. I can watch what I want to watch on television. These are all choices that you make every day that you don't realize. When somebody is in a jail cell, they don't get any of those choices. To the last minute, their day is scheduled by somebody else. They don't even get to decide when they see sunlight. They don't get to decide when they eat. They're lucky if they get to decide when they go to the bathroom, especially if they have, are in a situation where they got more than one cellmate. So to treat, like, having traumatic memories does suck, and there are effects that it has on your life, but to treat it as the equivalent of being in a prison cell is ludicrous. It is absolutely ludicrous.
Agreed.
Yeah. All right. Are we done? Want to move on to the next
Yes.
quote?
Yes.
Okay.
We do.
All right. It's my turn. All right. So I got some. I was fishing around for some of my favorites. A lot of these are, well, some of them are Gamergate related, but they're still feminist quotes. So let's start with Jonathan McIntosh. He put out a quote very recently, and he said this in his quote, and this is just it's more to speak about where his mind is at. He said, quote, "People love to pretend fantasy and reality are separate, distinct, and unrelated. Nothing could be further from the truth. They are entwined." So, I
fucking told you, John. Lizards are small, really fucking small.
Maximus.
Dude, I'm gonna go get my broom. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, I can fly too. I don't flap my arms. I do the breaststroke.
And I'm actually a panda, you see. I actually believe I'm some kind of pandakin. See, this is the difference, John. Some of us actually think we are animals, and some of us just do cartoons. There is a difference.
No, man, I'm gonna start throwing at myself at the ground and missing. You know, I truly, if they're the same.
Well, okay, playing devil's advocate, he may be saying that fantasy either reflects reality or our beliefs, or it influences reality. And to a certain degree, I would agree with him. I mean, look at the threat narratives that have been spun throughout history. That was just a fictitious narrative, and it eventually justified real world violence. But I'm not sure if that's where he's going with that.
Look at the sort of the beliefs that we have about, say, the Middle Ages, right? And how it was all 14-year-old girls being married off to like 60-year-old men and stuff like that. That was just like, that was totally normal. That was the way things were done. And we base those beliefs off of a lot of the fiction coming out of that era, and also a lot of the sort of the sort of true stories that are too crazy to believe stuff, right? It would essentially be like us, like some civilization 1,000 years from now, thinking that the way we lived was like in soap operas, where it's like, the kid goes to boarding school at age 3, and then like next season comes back and they're a teenager, and everybody has time. All these high-powered CEOs have time during their day to take 2 hours off in the middle of their day to talk about, I'm worried about our daughter, right? And all of this other shit. And, oh, these two people are so in love, and then they discover that they're brother and sister, and all of this other crap, right? Or I didn't realize I was pregnant, and 100 craziest things ever removed from a human body, those kinds of shows, right? That was like everyday shit for us, right? That was just how everybody lived.
Feminists don't understand the difference between pop culture imitating life and pop culture propagandizing standards that people are not already subject to, and suddenly those standards become the standard, and people can't resist them and can't avoid fulfilling them. But not all people, just women when it comes to unrealistic expectations, and men when it comes to anything that feminists label as toxic masculinity. They wouldn't necessarily conform to anything that, like if feminists want to use pop culture as propaganda, they will claim that it's not dictating people's lives at all.
No.
So but they can't tell the difference when it's say showing women with healthy bodies that are not overweight, or that are not necessarily like incredibly thin or incredibly off in any way, or that's like propaganda that is going to force women who don't have that body to hate themselves. And anything that portrays women in a way that feminists consider sexualized, well, now women aren't going to take themselves seriously because they've seen that, and all that kind of crap. Like, we have no independence. We have no capability of deciding things for ourselves. And it's the same kind of hysteria that religious fanatics and even just the sort of the televangelist crowd, I guess you could call them, have over books like the Harry Potter series, where they go apeshit and think that kids are going to have to be witches because they read these books. That, like, they can't tell that you can't climb up on the roof of your house with a broom and fly, because obviously if it's in a book, it must be true. And it's the same mentality. It's the same lack of faith in a group of people to be able to differentiate, or learn as they are growing, in the case of children, to differentiate between fiction and fact. And it's partly because of the effect of postmodernism on feminism, where they treat perception as reality, a thing that they have transferred to human resources departments and business, where if you feel like something means something, if it means something to you, that becomes its meaning, regardless of the intent behind it, regardless of what it was actually about when it happened or when it was said.
And they always make the worst possible assumptions. Like, the intent that they're drawing from is always they always think the worst of the people that they're trying to interpret.
The shoulder chip version. Yeah. The shoulder chip version is their reality. And so they don't have their own. They're basically projecting their own issues in determining fantasy from reality onto the rest of the world.
Cherry?
Well, that was going to be exactly actually my point. Hannah said it just at the last minute, right before me. That was projection. I mean, very, very largely so. A lot of the things that come out of the feminist or gynocentric circles, but especially feminist ones, are projection and a little bit of mixture of what is it called? Something with a T, but transference. So, for instance, they have these ideas about, which, I mean, this could fall under the umbrella of projection, because, like, with the rape thing, a lot of times, given the popularity of 50 Shades of Grey and the fact that James Dean was a feminist icon, and a lot of the feminists that I know that are into heavy BDSM, there is this very interesting crossover between people who identify as feminist and and women who want to have consensual rape type situation happen to them. So whenever they talk about seeing, like, rape this, rape that, rape culture, I mean, they are creating rape culture by constantly talking about rape, and they assume that every single man just walks around wanting to rape women, when in fact they themselves are constantly thinking about wanting to be raped in a sexual way. So it's like this weird projection transference thing I've noticed on that front, but very much so with a lot of their ideas. That I noticed women talking about, like, guys don't have feelings, or guys only want, women for sex. It's like, in all of my experience, in all my life, I have personally not met a single guy like that, with a few exceptions, like one or two that I've heard about from other girls that they're like that. But in my own personal experience, the amount of men that are not like that is massive. Yet the amount of women that only want to conquer a guy's heart as, like, a notch on her belt and then move on to the next guy, and to have all those behaviors that they see in dudes, that they say dudes have. I've seen way, way, way more women do that than not. So a lot of times what they say about guys and what guys do is 100% what they're already doing, and what guys don't actually really do if you look at reality. And I'm not sure where Macintosh was coming from. I kind of would, side with the devil's advocate side, that it could potentially be that, what we expect of the world actually does kind of become true in some instances, and some limited cases. There is a law of attraction happening. There are self-fulfilling prophecies, and there is a way, if everybody continually thinks down a certain path, then it will become reality. So in that sense, dreams or fantasy becomes reality. But he also said about lines and understanding lines between reality and fantasy, and that's something that most people like us, the more rational thinking, the more rules-based, I guess the more right-wing even, they have kind of an understanding of there is a reality, and then there's, other things and emotions and things that happen to that. So more masculinized brains are like, yeah, there's a very distinct difference. But you go into this crazy zone, because I believe personally, and from my experience as a psychologist and you're a psychologist, we all as a species exist on a spectrum between schizophrenia and OCD. So we have the extremely, and of course extremes on both sides. So we have like the really narrow-minded, like rules-based, like super OCD thinking on one hand, which also goes with sciences and other things. And then we have like extremely creative and broad, linking different things together, more schizophrenic worldview, which also lends itself to paranoia. And so a lot of times we have feminists and more feminized brains who are just kind of stuck in this area of crazy dreamland, and they legitimately cannot necessarily distinguish their feelings from reality. They remember reality based on their feelings. So like they don't remember what happened to them, they remember how they felt, and from that they extrapolate what happened. So it's straight up projection in that sense, I think.
Oh, like so much of feminist theory is projection, right? Like there's absolutely so much of it is. The whole even just the entire idea of patriarchy is in my opinion, it's feminists, right? Women who already have a beef with men, maybe a particular man, and this is what Aaron Pizzey often said, was that the personal is the political. Just to them, it meant take your own personal damage and project it onto all of society. If my dad was a shit, all men are shit, right? And these women who already have this deeply damaged women, usually who have this grudge against men, they look at the men in power, the men in charge, and they say, well, if I was in charge, I'd be fucking, jamming my stiletto heel through every man's scrotum, right, for the benefit of the sisterhood. And so that must be what men have been doing to women all this time. Men must have been oppressing women for their own benefit all this time, because that's what I would do if I were in charge. I would be oppressing the opposite sex for the benefit of women, right? That's what I think the entire basis of their theories. It lies on their own feelings, their own ways of seeing the world, their own ways of resenting the opposite sex, their own ways of feeling envious of what the opposite sex does and can accomplish, and all of those things, and a complete and absolute lack of trust that in some cases I think is probably it's not baseless. I mean, look at Gloria Steinem. Like her dad left her when she was like fucking 9 years old to live with a completely incompetent, mentally ill mother who required constant care, couldn't even fucking get out of bed, right? And here's this 9-year-old girl left alone with her to take care of her, right? That's got to suck, and I'm sure that probably caused her to resent her dad quite a bit, right? But that's not the entire world, Gloria.
Yeah.
And why ignore the bad actions of women? But also there's more to it than I can, what you're saying, because if we look at the evidence, especially in the past year, that, being with you guys and talking about a lot of these things, we've been keeping track of all the different ways in the past year, especially alone, that women and female groups actually control what people get hired, fired, what things are acceptable, what things are not, what words should be banned, what should not. These are groups of women who are deciding and strong-arming people and intimidating them, and with the other women who came out against, like, well, I'm not a feminist, like some celebrities said, and they got basically bullied into then saying, no, I am a feminist. So over and over we see matriarchy at work really hardcore. So it's very much the whole idea of patriarchy is projection.
Oh, even just that one thing that made me laugh so hard in that Geek Feminism 101's post on toxic masculinity, right? Toxic Masculinity 101. It was that there's a pervasive expectation that a man will abandon a pregnant girlfriend and not take responsibility, right? Like this is like a patriarchal masculine, toxic masculine norm, right? This is part of the patriarchy, right? Even though even though shotgun weddings were a thing pretty much right up until feminism, right?
Even though custody hearings completely fuck over men and don't let them see their children when they're trying to over and over.
But here's the thing. Here's the only societies where men really aren't expected by other men or anyone to take care of their kids are the matriarchies, like the Mosuo in China, right? Those men are, you can give a gift or something, and you can acknowledge, if you know whose kids are yours or which kids are yours, you can acknowledge them and, say, I'm your dad, here's a present, right? But if you actually try to take a hand in raising them or whatever, you're looked at as you're interfering in the mother and her family's raising of that child, right? And it's the uncles and brothers and cousins and grandparents and all of that, grandmothers, who are the ones who are supposed to raise the child with that woman, and the dad is out of the picture, right? So that's the expectation in a matriarchy, not in a patriarchy. In a patriarchy, we have shotgun weddings. In a patriarchy, we have, if a man lies down with an unmarried virtuous woman, right, he has to pay her father 30 fucking shekels or whatever and marry her, right? He has to take responsibility because she might be knocked up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna Hannah, I'm gonna give it to you in a second.
Right.
I'm as far as Jonathan McIntosh's first quote. I am not gonna give him that pass. I think that if taken out of the context of who is saying it and how he's made points similar to this in the past before, and I was just to look at it as objectively as possible. The idea that people love to pretend fantasy and reality are separate, distinct, and unrelated, nothing could be further from the truth. I don't know about the nothing could be further from the truth part, but the first part I can get behind insofar as fantasy or things that are often created by artists, authors, musicians, designers, storytellers, whatever. Even though they're making things up, they're creating fantasy and they're using their imagination. There is often something that they're drawing from, which is their life experiences or, the knowledge of the real world. It makes its way into what they're doing. So that is essentially the idea, that old saying, art imitates life. But I think that what Jonathan McIntosh is trying to say here is that this is a cycle where art imitates life, imitates art, So because he's often arguing how our media influences us, that's essentially the crux of all of his and Anita's and in the past Frederick Wortham and Jack Thompson and those other people who have tried to say that the media that we consume or the entertainment or the games or whatever. Specifically games, but not really, because Frederick Wortham, he wrote that about comic books in the 1950s.
Yeah,
and there were people...
But they ignore TV and video series because a lot of times those push a feminist agenda. So they're completely ignoring all the stupid feminist TV broadcasting.
But there has been a push against television in the past, too, and there has also been a push to change television based on the belief in its influence. So there is a push to control television, just like there was a push to control comic books, there is a push to control video games, there's been a push to control music for forever, and literature.
Like whatever it is that, and essentially, when it comes to your point, Anna, you're right. If something is feminist approved, they generally leave it alone, or they may even still have beefs. Like it's not unless being pushed to the degree that people like Anita and Jack Thompson and so on, people who have like a vested interest in trying to change, censor, or remove outright some form of media. But they would rather see it change to be more like what they think the ideal version of what that is should be. And we have seen that changing a lot in TV, but when something doesn't line up the right way, it doesn't toe the line, they will come out against it. It just so happens that most television today is relatively safe for the most part. I mean, there's still you run into the occasional issue, but I think for the most part, it's all falling in line. And I think that's due to the fact that not only are a lot of people who create content falling in line because they don't want to upset anyone, but also I think a lot of people that are actually, with their gender studies degrees or their communications degrees that have like a secondary major in gender studies or feminism or activism or whatever, they've actually, started working in the industry. So they're basically just putting their ideology in their work. And you can see that. But it just hasn't been able to. The thing is, it hasn't been able to really make a serious impact in things like music, because music's, the best of music still has to be good music, right? So you can't really fuck with it unless you're a really good musician. In the
Look
first
at it
place.
this way. I detest Rage Against the Machine's like hyper-socialist lyrics, but I love their music and I'll fucking listen to it till the day I die.
Actually, it's funny you should
It's
say that.
so funny. I'm the exact opposite.
The
100%
lead
opposite.
singer, the lead singer of Rage Against the Machine, when they were young and they were really angsty and angry and stuff, they wanted to do, they were doing all that was like the message they wanted to sell. And they were really passionate about it. But as they got older and they started to start families and so on, the lead singer was still like, I want to do this music, man. I'm still like, we got to fight the system, etc. And all the other band members, they were like, man, we've been doing the same shit for so long, though. I don't really like. They basically were getting tired of that, and they just wanted to make the music.
What is with that? That like happening. Both Metallica and Dave Mustaine, they like totally sold out. One with Napster, and then Mustaine like was endorsing either Romney or someone even worse, and like being a complete like more right wing politician versus.
You know what that is? You know what that is? You know what that is? I tried to explain it to my kid, right? Because before the federal election in his social studies class, they did the exercise where they read a whole bunch about the different political parties, and he found out that he was a liberal. He would have voted for Justin Trudeau's Liberals because that's mostly what he agrees with, and blah blah blah. And we're discussing this in the grocery store, and he sees this display of sort of vintage looking. If you buy the vintage little mini bottles of Coke, you get a free Coca-Cola glass, right? And like these vintage mini bottles of Coke are like way super expensive, just as it is, right? And he's like, "Oh, can we get that?" And I'm like, "See, this is why you would vote liberal. This because see, you don't have a job, right? And you've never had to really pay for anything with money that you've earned yourself, right? And so you think that there's just this endless supply of money, and you know it's not endless because we don't have all the money in the world to buy you everything that you want, but you do get everything that you need. Every single thing that you need, whether it's shoes, clothes, whatever, you get that from somebody else, right? And you've never actually had to pay out of your own labor for your own survival. You've never had to do that, right? And so, of course, you're voting for, oh yeah, no, welfare and, and bring in refugees and, we've got lots of room and whatever and all of this stuff. And I was like, and that's fine, right? That's fine, but don't be surprised if you change your mind later on when you're out on your own and you're paying for your own shit out of your own money, right? And paying taxes that's going to people who aren't working to survive, right?
And that's just like the journey that my parents went through. My father had this outlook on basically government funding, that you, in order to bring in more money to the government, that taxes have to be higher and higher in order to keep bringing that money in. And the idea that there would be a point at which taxing beyond that level, beyond that percentage of income or wealth, accumulated wealth,
less revenue.
would result in less revenue, didn't sound reasonable. And when Reagan said that, he was like, "That's crazy talk. He's going to destroy the country."
Yeah.
And of course, time proved the opposite, that there is a point at which when you raise taxes beyond that point, it destroys the public's revenue, and so there's less public revenue on which to draw those taxes, and tax revenue goes down instead of up. And so bringing taxes below those points, it brings in more tax revenue. There's like a perfect, there's a sweet spot.
Yeah.
Where you bring in the maximum amount of the maximum percentage of tax revenue from the maximum amount of public revenue created by not like taxing businesses to the point where they start making decisions to avoid being taxed and so on. And it's something that you learn with experience. You cannot just have that. You're born with a self-interest, and you develop a sense of the importance of fairness and sharing and stuff as you're growing up, because it's partly because it's what you're taught, and partly because it's what you experience without actually creating and earning yourself. And then as you go through life, you see these things happen. And
Yeah.
you can only learn these things from seeing them happen and paying attention and keeping an open mind. Like, my parents went from being diehard Democrats to supporting Republican candidates. And actually, my mother was a Republican politician. Not a big-time Republican politician. She was city council in a small community. But it was still getting involved in politics on the opposite side of the spectrum from what they originally identified with. And of course, because my parents, when I was growing up, were mostly, for most of my life, were diehard Republicans, I used to be a diehard Republican, and am now, I'm not diehard anything, but you could call me a libertarian and I wouldn't be offended by it.
Mm-hmm.
You learn and develop and grow, and it's partly because, what my parents espouse as beliefs that they associate with Republicans is really, I've noticed that it's really more a libertarian value than it is a Republican value anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, you can't get that without growing and developing. And a lot of these guys get into music. They get into music when they're teenagers, and so their early music, like hell, my early poetry, which my poetry sucks, by the way, so I'm not going to share it.
It was totally.
It was,
It's
based
totally
on. Yeah, it's based on the mentality that they have and the understanding that they have at that age. And as they learn and grow, it's gonna change. You can't, if you're not changing as you get older, you have a closed mind. If you're not learning new things and adapting your worldview to match the information that you're taking in as you evaluate it and determine which things are real and which things are not real, and which things are propaganda, and which things are fact and logic and stuff. If you're not doing that, then you're closed-minded and you're wrong. Even if you feel right about it, even if you feel with all of your heart that you're right about it, you can't be. Because you're basing it on a lifelong loyalty,
What
rather
was
than fact, logic, and reasoning.
What was that line? A man at 20 who isn't a communist has no heart. A man at 40 who is a communist has no brain.
Yeah, and that's pretty much the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
But I wanted to touch back on something you guys were talking about earlier regarding feminism and patriarchy and everything. And I wanted to point out the reason that feminists are able to hold on to that belief. When you limit your definition of power to only include people in legislative and administrative positions, you automatically create the groundwork for claiming that people who exercise social influence without administrative or policy-making positions are dominated by people in those positions. And that, in turn, lays the groundwork for claiming that groups that are made up of people who tend more to exercise social influence rather than seek administrative or policy-making positions, that group is dominated by the group from which people who seek out those positions would come. And that is where they're able to say men dominate women. They don't acknowledge the power of social influence. They don't acknowledge the power of being the person whose sensibilities are catered to, who gets apologized to if the wrong thing is said in front of them, who determines what is or is not socially acceptable to do and say in front of other people, who determines what is or is not socially acceptable to think or believe. They don't acknowledge that power. And in not acknowledging that power, they make it seem as though the only thing that constitutes power is having an administrative position or a policy-making position.
Yeah.
And in doing that, of course, they're going to be able to convince people. And it doesn't make it true. It doesn't make policy-making and administration the only type of power that counts as actual power. It just makes it easier to convince people that it is.
Yeah.
And it's essentially the ultimate threat narrative, because it's one that people have a very tough time seeing through.
Yeah.
They've been using it. They've been using that power, the entire time.
Yeah. Quick points about that before I move on to the next quote. One, yeah, you're absolutely right. We often forget that, and we've said this before. People in administrative power, people in government positions that are supposed to be running the country and all that, they serve us. They serve us, and this is something that we have to keep in mind. Like, if there was a revolution tomorrow and every American decided to go after their government, they would not be able to stop us. They wouldn't, and they serve us. That's the point. But we are forgetting it all the time, and feminists are constantly speaking from that point. That's why they always say, "Why are there so few men in Congress? Why are there so few? There hasn't been a female president." Or I'm sorry, few women in Congress. Why hasn't there been a female president? All the positions of power are taken by men, or the overwhelming majority. The fact is, those people, while they live well, and there certainly are issues of corruption and everything else, they exist. That position fundamentally is supposed to be there to serve us. And we're forgetting it. Like when people say, well, they don't anymore, or that's not how it is now. Well, that's because we allowed that to happen.
They still exist on sufferance. They still exist on our sufferance.
Well, yeah. Actually, that brings up the one more thing I was going to say. If social influence is not an equal or greater power than administrative and policy-making position, how did the suffragettes get what they got for women, or what feminists claim they got for women? If social influence doesn't have that greater, equal or greater level of power, how did they make those policymakers bend to their will?
Because it's 2015.
Okay, but I just want to interject really quickly. Hannah, they will say that black people and other marginalized groups also got the vote. However, it should be noted that they had to sacrifice in war before they were considered.
Well, but the thing is, they're still describing social influence. It's still social influence. They cannot claim that social influence is a lesser or non-existent power, or shouldn't be treated as an equal or greater power, without losing the right to claim any feminist victory for the benefit of women.
Yeah, but here's the thing, too, right? Okay, the civil rights movement. Right? Look at what they had to go through. Look at what they had to fucking go through. Fire hoses.
All of which was social influence. They had social
fire hoses and bullets and all kinds of shit. And they went through that, and certain white people, the Freedom Riders and others, went through that with them, right? And it all was splashed on newspapers and TV screens across America. Everybody was fucking horrified. And something was done, right?
Yeah, but that still relies on social
influence. It was absolutely 100% social influence. It was not, and this is one of the things that drives me fucking crazy about this narrative that we've got going with feminism right now. Because as I said in my video that I uploaded, was it yesterday, about, in response to SFU's fucking gender bullshitty society, right?
It's the worst thing I've ever seen written down. It's the worst thing ever produced by language.
I know. You said that. You also said you hated me, and I'm sorry. I'm sorry that
I love you, Karen. I only say that because you know I love you.
I know. But okay. But here's the thing. The narrative that we have, the social narrative that we have right now, right, is one where men in certain situations will not be able to get the rights that they deserve, the equal rights that they deserve under the law to custodial parenting and to fair and equitable child support and alimony allocations and things like that, right? Fair domestic violence laws and policies, fair rape laws and policies, all of those things. They won't be able to do it because there is this huge social narrative going on right now that not only do men not deserve those things, right, but that it would be dangerous to give men those things. It would be dangerous to women and it would be dangerous to children. And somehow, this social power, the power of social pressure that made gay marriage a thing in the U.S., right? Because that wouldn't have happened in the 1960s when the bulk of social attitudes was anti-gay. No, it was when the bulk of social attitudes was pro-gay marriage, pro-freaking gay tolerance and pro-gay marriage. That's when all of a sudden we have gay marriage, right? And then you have these stupid cunt feminists. Sorry about my language. No, I'm not. I'm not sorry. Stupid fucking cunt feminists, right? Saying, well, what are you doing for men? Well, you know what we're doing? We're trying to spur a cultural dialogue and a cultural narrative and a cultural discourse that will allow future lobbyists in 2 years or 3 years or 5 years to be able to successfully advocate for these changes. Not just beat their heads against a fucking wall like NCFM has been doing since 1977, right? But actually successfully make changes in law, make changes in policy. You cannot do that without the social pressure from the bottom up. You cannot convince lawmakers, legislators, policymakers, politicians. You can't convince them to fucking care unless the electorate cares. And you can't convince the electorate to care if, number one, they don't know what's going on, and number two, they're swallowing this bullshitty feminist narrative that's based on fucking science that, like, I could wipe my fucking ass with their research papers and it would be a better use than they're being put to now. All right, I'm done.
Okay. The other thing I wanted to say was to Hannah's point and yours about social power. It's just a quote that I think we've heard many times. It's if you want to know who rules over you, just find out who it is that you're not allowed to criticize. And I mean that pretty much puts it, out there very simply. So
I thought it was Voltaire, but apparently it's not Voltaire.
It's not Voltaire. It's actually been often misquoted as Voltaire, but it's not him. I'm sure the chat will be like, "This is who it is."
A man lands a space probe on a comet. Fucking shirt! You're the reason why women don't go into science. You fucking misogynist.
Exactly.
Silly scientist. Once upon a time, our culture was interested in the fringes of science, but now we're more interested in that image of our prophet you're wearing.
What I love is how Matt Taylor's shirt, and I really hope somebody does this. I really do. I really hope somebody makes a cloth print, a fabric print of a photo montage from Slut Walks, and makes shirts out of it.
That'd be awesome. I was thinking a shirt print that has several different photos of Matt Taylor from several different angles wearing that shirt. So it's the shirt of him wearing the shirt.
That would be beautiful too.
Yeah.
Shirtception.
I would buy all of those. Shirtception. I would buy both of those things and I would wear them. I would wear them out in public. And you know me, I'm one for like flashy clothes and stuff, but I would totally wear those.
You heard that, chat. I just gave you a freebie in terms of a money-making idea. The Matt Taylor wearing a shirt.
Yeah, or the slut walk shirt, but
or the slut walk shirt.
Make it a bowling shirt like Matt Taylor's shirt.
Yep.
And yeah.
Yeah, try to put them inside of like champagne glasses or something. If you can ship them.
Depictions of Matt Taylor doing a slut walk shirt.
Yes. You can change his pants. Change his pants into like women legs with like stockings and stuff.
Oh no. A piece of fabric that's like wall-to-wall slut walkers, okay? But then that one picture of Matt Taylor in his shirt with his thumbs up.
Yeah.
Kind of right in the middle of it. Just like all of these things are not like the one, right? One of these things is not like
the other.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, so next quote. I have a lot left, so. All right, so there's another Jonathan McIntosh, and he was basically doing this about the Civil War trailer. This one stood out for me. It's a bit long, but not that long. Okay. How do superheroes make friends? By punching each other. How do you resolve conflicts, big and small? By punching each other. Whose plan will be followed? How is trust built among teammates? Face punching can accomplish all of this and more. We need to raise questions at the model of male bonding and friendship building by way of violence. What exactly is so appealing about this particularly aggressive form of hypermasculinity that it's become a worldwide movie obsession? So,
no, it hasn't become a worldwide. No. Okay, do you remember one of the earliest scenes in Braveheart, right? When Braveheart, Mel Gibson's character, was like still a little kid, and he's with like the freaking blonde bearded guy who's also a little kid, and his best buddy who's like a freaking almost like a berserker, right? And they're like wrestling and like beating on each other and shit and laughing and having fun.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh yeah, there's lots of movies that have stuff like that. They're all like older because male bonding films are kind of hard to find nowadays.
Well, look at even my boys, right? So I got a 21-year-old and a 13-year-old, and the 13-year-old decides he's gonna like hit his big brother with like a carrot. Okay? So he like comes after his brother, he's got the carrot, he's holding it like a cudgel, okay? And over his shoulder, and he's like gonna whack his brother across the head with it. And Jack, my oldest, just does this kind of Three Stooges two-finger thing, but not in the eyes, in like that like tender spot where your arm and your armpit join up.
Yeah.
Jabs him there.
Yeah.
And then they just like both are on the floor laughing.
Yeah, that's just rough and tumble play. And essentially, a superhero fight in like a film is a more sort of magnified, exaggerated version of that.
Yeah.
So it's fun, but Jonathan McIntosh doesn't know what fun is unless he's ironically making fun of himself in a video. Which
I remember like wrestling with my buddy Darren, and I got some good pins in. I pinned him down pretty good a few times. That was fun. Or like just whacking at each other with plastic toys and stuff. That was all of that was like fun. It was like woohoo. Sometimes it went too far, but somehow we survived. It was all good and remained friends. One thing I do want to say, my favorite quote from Jonathan McIntosh this year, my favorite one, acting.
I was gonna say doom 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 de doom de doom doom doom.
No, I prefer acting.
Acting, yeah, that's a good one. It's so telling. One word, so powerful.
Well, back to that Civil War thing, if you look up at the origins of why they put that in the movie, I mean, there's two different stories because there was like lots of people writing the comic, I guess. But the original Captain America and Iron Man, the government sent Iron Man to like kill Captain America, so it wasn't at all a bonding thing. It was like a survival thing. So he's totally off the mark on that one.
Yes, he does.
The second one, he was controlled by, I think, not Poison Ivy. No, that was Superman versus Batman. Never mind.
Oh yeah.
But,
yeah.
Never mind.
Well, yeah. Well, the thing is that that bit in the trailer is actually supposed to be really emotional. It
Wait a
looks
minute, and in the
cool.
trailer too, he's like, it's not a bonding thing. He has to help he's bonding with another guy by kicking Iron Man's ass, right?
Well, it's an older friend.
Helping
It's
his
sort of
friend,
like it's like choosing between a really, really old friend who you've known for your entire life, and then a relatively more recent friend that you've also bonded over saving the world a couple times. So, yeah, but there's a lot more layers involved. But Jonathan McIntosh is basically just boiling it down to guys solve problems by hitting each other, and movies like this reinforce those attitudes, and they actually say that these things are okay. So when boys act out by hitting each other, for whatever reason, it's the movies that are doing this. That's what he's saying, and that, of course, is
well,
just
he's just
wrong.
suffering from a critical lack of testosterone. That's why he doesn't get how you do just roughhouse as a boy or with boys when you just have more testosterone naturally. You do that. He's like, I don't understand why this is like how boys do it. I just want to talk.
Jonathan McIntosh never went hunting for salamanders in a slough in his bare feet.
It's a lizard, Jonathan. It's a very small
He thinks
lizard.
they're 100 feet tall and flying. For fuck's sake.
It's an amphibian, and they're very cute. They're very neotenous, actually. Salamanders are, but yeah, no. Like I used to do this all the time. I used to climb trees in my bare feet. You saw me up in the tree.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I used to go up like 10 feet higher than that because I was small, right? In my bare feet, shorts and a t-shirt and my bare feet, and I would be up in a tree like that. Right? And the trees swaying in the breeze, and I would be doing shit like that. I would be doing all kinds of fucked up shit that parents these days would be like, oh my god, come down, you're going to kill yourself. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
But I bet you Jonathan McIntosh hasn't fucking experienced any of that.
No, probably not. Who knows? He's just applying his critical theory to everything that he's already decided is bad, and it's just a matter of it's just basically like, here is the result of my thesis. Now I'm just going to look at the thing I'm trying to criticize and see how I can make my way towards my result. Here's my conclusion. Now I'm going to find the facts to support it, essentially, and that's what this is. So. All right, so the next quote is from one of my favorite people, Lee Alexander. She made a tweet in response to the Planned Parenthood shooting, where she says, "Yo, sorry you can't get a shitty boob sequel from a tanking vintage Japanese developer." She's referencing Dead or Alive Extreme 3. "But women's healthcare spaces just got shot at. Grow up." Now that makes me laugh because it basically makes the assumption that just because gamers are upset that a game's not being ported over to the U.S., it means that they don't give a fuck about Planned Parenthood.
Why are those related even?
They're not related!
Was it happening at the same time somehow?
No,
like,
well,
upset about it?
And who says that Planned Parenthood is entitled to gamer support? I mean, like the statement itself is actually predicated on the assumption that Planned Parenthood is entitled to political support from anyone. It's not. It's a controversial entity, and it's the existence of it and its practices are the ethics of its practices are under debate, and of course that is going to include people in Gamergate are on both sides of the left-right political spectrum, in the middle also, and in various positions that are nowhere near the middle, that are left, right, top, bottom, whatever you want to call it. The spectrum is not. There's not like one dot and all of Gamergate is there on that spectrum. They're all over the place. And while the majority appear to be left-leaning libertarian, it is ridiculous to claim that Planned Parenthood is entitled to their support. If Planned Parenthood does things that are unethical, and Gamergaters have a dedication to ethics, it's reasonable for Gamergaters to object to the unethical behavior of Planned Parenthood.
What I find interesting about this is that she's saying, oh, these gamers are complaining about their own little petty problems, right? when there's these bigger fish to fry. There was a shooting at a Planned Parenthood, right? Okay. At the, like, and it was what, like, not even a month ago, right? We had people at freaking Concerned Student 1950 or whatever tweeting "fuck Paris," right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the terror attacks in Paris were stealing attention from their struggle at the University of fucking Missouri or whatever the fuck it was, Mizzou. That fuck Paris and fuck all of that. There was a poop swastika in one of our bathrooms, and that's just as important.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
No, she's not gonna. No, that
No.
doesn't. That's not the kind of. There are no bad tactics, only bad targets.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed.
All right, so now I have another one from Leigh Alexander because she is bae. And okay, so I have to reference an earlier quote from 2014 where she said, "Gamers don't have to be your audience. Gamers are over." You might know about this one. I don't know if you've heard of it, but and in the same year, I believe she said, "I am games journalism." But she made a more recent blog post, and I have to quote. I'm only mentioning the earlier one because this is related to it. Okay, where she says, this is just an excerpt, and I quote: "When I was targeted by an online hate group last year, sales of my little digital book, a relatively niche product, some personal writing relegated to a single video game conference, rocketed. Certainly, it's possible that the increased visibility caused by the episode naturally brought more interest in my work. But I think it's more likely that by spending money on me, people felt they were fighting evil. It wasn't entirely that they respected my writing or my opinion. They wanted to cheer on a public personality that they felt close to. My social media feed is now flooded with virtual hugs and high fives, unasked for encouragement, cheering on, and other variations on 'you're a badass female character.' People retweet this article without even reading it because they trust me and because they want to make me happy. Despite the trials of being a visible woman on a complicated field, I am actually pretty confident in myself, thanks, and it troubles me to be treated as a pal who needs a lot of slaps on the back from strangers. I'd like readers who respect my opinion, not wannabe friends who are seeking my acknowledgement or validation. But that's just how things are nowadays. I'm not special. I could be anyone. I prefer to make money because my work is good, not because people believe I need help or cheering on. But I'll take the money where it comes." So that's
That was the most intense quote. Holy fucking shit. That one
Yeah.
wins for me out of yours so far.
So that's basically Leigh Alexander literally getting rid of everyone that she doesn't like, and when all that's left are people who love her unrequitedly, without unconditionally, just like default, then she laments and she's like, "Why aren't you guys liking me because I'm doing good work? Why am I getting like this, unconditional admiration?"
You're not doing good work, and you force people to support you just because through your victim narrative. I'm assuming, I have no idea who Leigh Alexander is, but
you would be right.
Obviously,
Yeah.
she talked about being harassment and campaign. So she created a cult of personality, and she's now lamenting that the work that she was being criticized for, that forced her to create a cult of personality, is what she actually wanted this whole time. What, girl? Just get your shit together, please.
That's right. Now everyone is stoked on her, and she's not really.
Well, everyone that she has, she's allowing to have any contact with her, right? Anyone who is still on her Twitter feeds is like a fawning sycophant because she blocked everybody else, right? And then she's like, "Why am I surrounded by all of these fawning sycophants? I want to be respected for what I do, And it's like, ugh.
Yeah.
This is what it takes for a social justice warrior to learn the value of meritocracy.
Oh my God.
To be denied access to it.
To deny themselves access to it.
Yeah.
She denied herself access to it. Like, you know how many people I've blocked this year on YouTube? Zero fucking people. Last year, zero. right? The first year I was on YouTube, I blocked 3 people. The next year, I blocked 1 person. And I have not blocked anybody since. Right? Anybody can go on any of my fucking videos and say whatever the fuck they want. I don't delete comments. I don't moderate comments. I don't fucking intervene in the conversations. I don't fucking do anything like that. I don't, just everybody gets to have a say. I don't fucking care. Right? Same with my blog. Same with everything. And the worst thing that I ever did on my blog was I told that stupid fuck nugget married to Christina Hansen, right? The woolly bumblebee, her freaking idiot husband, told him, I find it really interesting that you're shitting all over my fucking comment thread because you know I won't block you, but I'm blocked from fucking your channel and Christina's channel. Give your head a shake, right? That's how you fucking get respect. That's how you maintain self-respect, is by going out in the world and doing shit, not doing shit from a secure little freaking bubble-wrapped fucking echo chamber sensory deprivation tank filled with nothing but a Greek chorus telling you how wonderful you are.
Mm-hmm.
I will admit, there are people that I've muted on Twitter, and there's a very specific reason for it.
Oh, I would.
There's
blocked.
no, and there are people I've blocked on Twitter too. Both the first guy that I blocked on Twitter, it was actually trying to very similar to like little kids will take ants from different ant hills and set them together to fight, and this one was trying to reignite arguments that had been settled between me and some prominent feminists that I was not in an argument with because the argument had been settled, and would not back down from trying to get it started again. And I was done with that. I'm not going to have it, not going to participate in the conversation, and so I went ahead and blocked them. But I have several accounts muted that their entire purpose is like if you make a point on Twitter and you start getting a discussion going, they'll come in and their whole goal is to get you going through a series of fallacious arguments that they'll start with the original argument and then just take you off on this tangent of random goalpost moving, straw men, begging the question, and ridiculous, fallacious arguments just to get you trapped in a series of minutia to distract you from the original point, to prevent discussion on that point. And I know I'm describing derailing, but it's not derailing as in I have an opposing viewpoint or I have a viewpoint about a similar thing that is related to this. It's completely, and I know it's a goal because when I have muted people for that, several of them have come back and started mentioning me in unrelated conversations with other people about topics that are completely unrelated that I don't even get into discussions about, in order to continue to get replies to them into my notifications on Twitter. And I have blocked accounts to keep those notifications from showing up so that I can focus on discussions that I'm actually participating in. I mean, that is a level of obsession with an individual to actually start mentioning them in other conversations that don't include them. And it's not like I get people that are in debates where they want me to come in and make points. Want me to come in, like Hannah knows about this. Hey Hannah, you have links to information about this, or this is a topic that you discuss. I'm talking about like somebody getting into a discussion about fat bicycle tires, or getting into a discussion about what type of car they drive, and then I'm just randomly mentioned, and it's by trolls, not like people that I would consider political allies or friends or anything like that on Twitter. So I have a block list,
See,
and I don't feel bad about it. But
this is why I just
it's not from not wanting to hear other people's political viewpoints.
no,
It's
and
from dealing with trolls. And
no,
because I'm on there a lot and I debate on there a lot, I get a significant number of trolls.
yeah, no, and this is why I don't go on Twitter at much at all. I'm like, Twitter's a fucking shit show because like, how much can you say in 140 characters?
A lot, actually.
I know you can say a lot, but I just, like, I find it way too limiting, and I just don't. I have it set that when I post a blog or when I post a video, it automatically tweets. When I like somebody's video, it automatically tweets. And I'll retweet certain things that other people have tweeted, right? I will do that, but I barely ever go on because it's too limiting. It's too limiting for me. I'm a long-winded person. I'm long-winded I'm long-winded orally. I'm long-winded in text. 140 characters is just like, take your 140 characters and shove it up your ass, Twitter.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I found
you heard it, guys. You heard it. Karen said she's long-winded orally.
I was so
There
gonna
you
go
go.
there.
But I found
You heard it here first. Now we know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it can be done, and it can be done in a number of ways. Linking to blog posts, using TwitLonger, linking to it rather than trying to describe your point. You simply say this. You condense what you're going to say, and you link it to something that provides evidence or proves it.
Yeah.
And you don't have to, like on Reddit, if I'm linking to something, I can quote from it. On Twitter, if I'm linking to something, I don't necessarily quote from it, but I can include an image that does.
Yeah.
Exactly. You can take a whole image of a text, like a Facebook post, and add it as like a JPEG of the text.
Yeah. And Twitter is particularly great for shit posting. You can condense a huge number of words. You can condense a 10,000 word Reddit post into a meme and put it on Twitter and have the same impact and have it hit thousands of followers and it gets shared. I've got stuff that's got thousands of views on Twitter that has been shared. It's just an image with a text that basically relates to the image and makes a statement.
Yeah, I've seen that. All I ever do is just type "get wrecked," and then usually that works. That works well. I mean, Leigh Alexander has me blocked. She's just trying to deny our love.
I'm on several block lists, like the block bot, the Atheism Plus block bot, the Gamergate block bot, the older ISIS block bot, not the newer one, but the older ISIS block bot, the one that was they posted a paste bin of it on Kotaku in action. So I mean, like I get blocked by everybody, partly because I make those points.
Yeah.
And partly because people don't like hearing things that challenge their worldview. I was blocked on Twitter as soon as I created my Twitter account. I was added to the Atheism Plus block bot, and before that, I was on the SRS, MRA shit list.
Oh yeah,
You and Allison were on it as well.
You know how many frickin' notifications I got of "you are banned from X subreddit," and I'm like, I had no idea you existed.
Yeah, me too. And that I think the Atheism Plus block bot, looking at the list, from what I've seen of the list, started with the shit Reddit says MRA shit list.
Oh yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna go on to. I only have a couple left. So, all right, this is a short one. Justin Trudeau, because it's 2015. That's like the one of the whole year. I had to put it in there. No one else did. It's the best. It's the best. It says everything that you need to know about feminist thought in 3 words. because it's 2015. That's basically their whole everything. That's their whole religion. It's like I mean, I remember when the Aztecs predicted the world would end in 2012. The feminists predict that there would be equality on the cabinet in 2015. Justin Trudeau had to get with it. So this is basically the same thing.
Oh God.
Go ahead.
I just like what really bothers me about that is that he actually initially created some junior positions specifically so that he could have women who had no experience, right, in junior positions. Okay? So he actually created junior cabinet positions in order to put these women in cabinet positions. And then when everybody flipped out about how he had created these junior cabinet positions just to have women in them, right? Then he actually just made them into regular cabinet positions.
Based on the fact that Justin Trudeau's quote is probably the shortest one I have, and the conversation we just had about Twitter, I'm going to say that Justin Trudeau is the prime minister made for Twitter because he is the most concise. He'll be able to basically talk about everything that he wants to do and tweet it. Every change he wants to make, everything he wants to implement, he'll be able to do it in 140 characters or less.
Is he going to put the twit in Twitter?
Yes, he's going to put the twit in Twitter because it's 2015. Okay, so next, this is a great one. Okay, I swear to God, I saw this one today. A woman named Anna Breslaw said this on Twitter. Being a woman equals someone behind you on the street starts whistling a tune and you immediately think you'll be murdered. This is what she thinks being a woman is. Do I need to read that again? Because this was so epic.
Oh, God.
Being a woman equals someone behind you on the street starts whistling a tune and you immediately think you'll be murdered. Now, unless that's California Mountain Snake from Kill Bill whistling in a nurse's outfit, I don't see where she's getting that from.
Yeah, no.
She obviously shouldn't leave her house.
That's like
That's what Shu on Head said. She covered it. She was like, you know, that's paranoia and living in constant fear. Never leave your house. Never reproduce.
Yeah, no. This is like every man who smiles at the baby in your stroller in the lineup at the grocery store. Right, so you're standing in the lineup. There's a man behind you, and your toddler is like doing something cute, and a man smiles at that child. Right? He obviously wants to rape your baby. Yeah. Obviously.
Despite the fact that in that age group, it's more often either committed or facilitated by women.
Yeah, well, yeah. But it just he wants to rape your baby. It's obvious. It's obvious that he wants to rape your baby because he's smiling. You know, like a man starting to whistle a tune. A man starting to whistle, you know, I don't know, like Peter and the Wolf, or you know, do, you know, or like
but not Hey There, Little Red Riding Hood.
Or no, but or like Saison's or Symphony for Organ, right? The piece of music that was made famous in the Babe the Pig movies, right? You know, like he's just walking down the or like freaking, I don't know, fucking I like big butts and I cannot lie, right? Sir Mix-a-Lot. He's just whistling. He's just whistling because he's happy.
And
he's gonna murder you.
I don't understand women with this mentality at all. Like I grew up in a small town. I was initially scared to move to the city until I was reminded, humorously, by my husband that I was living next to a drug dealer already. So what was going to be worse about moving to the city? I have worked where I had to walk to work in the dark at night. You know, when there was hardly anybody around, and the few people that are out, you know, you don't know them, and you can't see them until they get close to you. And I walked every night like 4 o'clock in the morning, walking to work through a neighborhood that had break-ins regularly. It's not a neighborhood where there's a lot of violence. There's not a lot of gang violence. That's actually just to the west of where I live and to the south of where I live. But it is a neighborhood where the businesses get broken into on a regular basis. Like every couple of days, there's another story about a business getting broken into in my neighborhood. On at either end of my street, where I at either end of the residential part of my street. So I wasn't walking through a nice cushioned, nothing ever happens here kind of neighborhood. There's a lot of domestic violence in my neighborhood. It's loud during the day, it's quiet at night. So it's not a crime-free or a crime-ridden neighborhood exactly. The only time I've ever been actually scared for my safety was in response to a woman, not a man. Not a woman coming up behind me either. She was coming from the other end, of my destination, and she was having a very heated argument, and without anybody else but me being there. And she, as she got closer, I expected to see like a Bluetooth device or a cell phone or something. Nope. She was having a very heated. She was very upset, and she was telling somebody off in no uncertain terms and explaining what she was going to do to them. And I crossed the street. But that was the only time I've ever been, like, I've had guys pass me from behind, walking that, and it was like they announced that they were there. I'm coming up behind you. Like, what am I going to do? Turn around and slug them or something? And it's because they were more afraid to approach me because I might think something than I was to be approached by them because they were male. There was no association there.
Okay, I wanted to just say something before I disappear again. There's another group of people that are defined by fear. They're called cowards.
Yeah, that is true. And it's not like I was careless, and didn't pay attention to my surroundings or anything. If there was a person around me, within moments of being able to hear or see them, I had pegged their face. So if anything had happened, I would have been able to describe it to the cops. But the idea of just like living in fear, the idea that you should be petrified because somebody might walk up behind you, might get close to you, another person, a human being might have proximity to your body, is ridiculous. To put that on yourself and to put that on other women, it's abusive.
My daughter walks home. She often walks home from the bus stop after midnight. We live in, okay, so on one edge of our neighborhood is the sound wall between us and the freeway. Okay, and then on another side we have the rent a room by the hour hotel. And then on the opposite side we have the place where everybody goes to buy drugs. And then on the side opposite the freeway, we actually have a Hells Angels clubhouse. And so, I mean, we're this tiny little pocket of very respectable people, young families, elderly people, just a very nice neighborhood surrounded. We're like maybe 20 square blocks, right? Surrounded by nothing but cars going 70 kilometers an hour or like crime, right? That's where we live. And she has to walk home from work after midnight often. And from the bus stop, she gets let off 2 blocks from the Hells Angels clubhouse, and she has to walk past it and then make her way home. And she's never had a problem. Right? She's had people talk to her. She's had guys, young guys, drunk guys, right? Talk to her, invite her to come with them to parties, all kinds of stuff. She's never had a problem. She's never had an actual problem, right? The only person in my family who's ever had a problem is my kid when he was 12 and was almost mugged by 2 older teenage boys, an attempted mugging. The only reason they didn't mug him and take his shit was because he had nothing worth taking. All he had was a $2 calculator from the dollar store, a binder full of freaking homework that he hadn't done, and dirty old lunch bags, and a wallet with a bus pass and nothing else in it. That's all he had, right? And they were like, "Oh fuck, get lost then, loser," right? And that was in broad daylight.
Mm.
Right?
You want a reason to be scared? Get a night job at a convenience store.
Mm-hmm.
In an area where like it's the only place open at night. Everything else closes at around between 9 and 11 o'clock, and so the only place for people who want drunk food to go is your or stoner food to go is your convenience store. And then wait until the first time you get somebody who comes in that is so intoxicated on some alternative substance or another that they cannot hold their body up straight, and they literally look like the Walking Dead. And they walk around your store for an hour and a half, amazed at everything in the store. Holy shit, potato chips. Poke, 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 poke. Well, then look at you, and like, red eyes and everything, like at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you're just praying that somebody will come in and be there with you while that person is wandering around your store, poking at the potato chips and looking amazed.
You know what's interesting?
When you have stood where you can run out the exit if the person loses their shit and starts having a drugged out meltdown, you can talk about being scared to go out at night.
You know what's interesting though? You know what's interesting though about this neighborhood, right? Because we have a lot of car break-ins and stuff like that, and I just leave my car doors unlocked now because there's nothing in there to steal except garbage, and they can take it. Like if you want to walk away with some of my garbage, cool, that's great. But and I'd rather have that than a broken window. But certain types of crime just don't happen in this neighborhood. And part of the reason is because we have that Hells Angels clubhouse just like 5 blocks away.
Well, I've talked about in my red pill thing, my first little boyfriend. My first little boyfriend's daddy was a motorcycle guy. He was actually reputed to be a Hells Angel, and I can't confirm or deny that. But of course, there were a billion rumors going on because it's a small town, right? A billion rumors going on about the types of activities that his motorcycle club engaged in because of all of the things that get said about the Hells Angels and everything. He was one of the nicest people I ever met. But I'm certain that if somebody had attacked his wife and kids, his response would have been entirely different than, say, the banker across town, and how he might have responded, particularly with regards to the speech and everything. But the reputation that motorcycle clubs get is ridiculous, because most of those people are just down to earth, regular folks. It's like assuming that because somebody is a juggalo that they're also a drug dealer. Assuming that because somebody's in a motorcycle club that they're also a dangerous criminal or has criminal tendencies or something like that, or that they're violent. They're just folks.
My mom.
I don't think juggalos are criminals. I just think they just listen to different music.
Okay, they're
the
silly.
FBI actually for a short time identified juggalos as a gang because some of them do sell drugs.
No, they just need
some
to.
of every large group of people sells drugs.
They just need to find something different to listen to. But
my mom used to actually have to deal business-wise with Hells Angels because she worked for a specialty advertising company that made shirts and hats and with logos and stuff like that, and golf balls and freaking all kinds of other shit, right? Hand towels with a logo on it, right? All kinds of stuff. And so one of their regular clients was the local Hells Angels, and she said that they were a joy to deal with. They were very understanding if the deadline was, if they were a little late with the order, if they were just, and they would come in and they would pay their money all in cash, $8,000. They just count out the $100 bills, and hand them over and done, right?
Well, it's the store that I was at. It was robbed repeatedly during my tenure there, and I was never there for an armed robbery of the store. I was only there when people took shit. And I got run over by a guy on his way out who was just ripping off beer and cigarettes. Just literally ran me over, knocked me down, stepped on me, and everything. It's scary when it's happening, but this is a pretty good example of the difference in mentality between people who have been through some shit and survived it and moved on, and your average coffee shop feminist who's experienced nothing and is terrified all the time. When you actually have to confront a situation where things are violent and scary for a period of time, and you manage the situation, you do what it takes to get through the situation with minimal damage to yourself, and you move on, you sort of learn that just because violence happens doesn't mean you're going to die. It doesn't mean it's the worst thing in the world. You're not destroyed by it. And when you constantly think about it and it's not happened to you, you haven't experienced, or when you put yourself in a place where you dwell on it and you can't get away from it, even if it has happened to you, and you don't learn from it, but instead you torture yourself with it, you completely lose you're handicapping yourself. You completely lose your ability to grow.
Yeah.
And it's a very dysfunctional behavior, and it's actually feminists trying to impose this on women. It's an abuse that is, I don't know how to describe this other than to say it's like cutting somebody's legs off just above the knees.
I agree.
You basically take away somebody's ability to continue on in the world because they might have something happen to them. It's a horrible thing to do to people.
The worst thing to say to somebody, particularly somebody who actually did, who did make some choices, some decisions, take some actions that contributed to them being victimized, right? The worst thing that you can possibly say to them is, there was nothing you could have done, right? Because all that you're saying to them is, and there's nothing you can ever do to prevent it happening again, right? That's all you're saying. Every single victim of trauma goes through a period of what feminists would call self-blame, right? It's not self-blame. It's your brain insisting that you learn a lesson, right? That's what it is.
It's risk analysis, situation analysis.
It's your brain saying, okay, is it reasonable for me to blame myself for taking 50th Street instead of 75th Street on that one day that one drunk driver ran the red light on 50th Street and T-boned my car and killed my kid? Is it reasonable for me to blame myself for that? No, it is not. That's a random fucking thing. Is it reasonable for me to say I shouldn't have been tuning my radio and not looking out for the traffic when the light turned green and I just went? I just went without making sure the intersection was clear, right?
Okay.
And that is reasonable.
That is
it reasonable to continue, though, on this long tangent?
Okay.
While other people have their top tens to get to.
Okay. Feminist quotes.
All right. So, you know what? I have some other ones, but we'll go ahead and go to Mike's. Mike, if you can do your top 10, because I know it's late over there, mate.
Oh, it's all good. I'm here because I got the day off tomorrow, so I'm here all night. I've got 10 very short quotes rather than a few long ones. So, tempted as though you might be, if we are to discuss each entry as they come, then we'll be here all fucking night. So, in the spirit of brevity,
Let's run through a few.
Yeah, but do it with a little bit of pomp, though. Like you get the top 10. You gotta start with 10 and work
your Dame Edna voice.
And circumstance.
And circumstance.
Pomp and circumstance.
And Dame Edna voice.
So I'm not doing that. But I'll just tell you what I'm doing. I was looking for shit feminists said, and I figured the best repository for me to go through for the year is my own video responses. So I did that literally just now. I took a quick sort of scan at the playlist and tried to reach for the lines I remember most. And that approach, sort of tapping into that front bit of my brain, creates a particular criterion for selection. And I think it's best described as Zen. So this is like the top 10 best feminist Zen moments from 2015. These weren't the enraging things or the most ridiculous things. It's the moments of clarity that accidentally happen and pull you out of upside down land and into the zero gravity core of the universe. The moments that make you go, oh wow, I actually feel better now because of this mind emptying stupidity spread eagled before me. Alright, so number 10. Ed the Sock. Advocating for men's rights is like advocating for snow at the North Pole. This is what I mean by Zen. It happens without meaning to happen. You forget two obvious things at the same time. It's like the alignment of the planets, except it actually affects human fate. Number 9, Lacey Green. I'm out here, y'all. I'm just putting this here so in 5 years from now I'll be like, what? Who's Lacey Green? She's no one, future Mike. She's no one. Number 8, Roxanne Gay. I'm a mess. I'm full of contradictions. It's just nice to hear, is all. I know you don't mean it whatsoever. I know you think the exact opposite. You think everyone else is a mess. But thank you for at least leaking the truth. Number 7, oh shit, Brit. It's just easier to have sex with them. This girl was full of fucking moments like that, but that one was particularly poetic. It's like they're staring the solution in the face and still just calling it the problem. I don't fucking know what. Number 6. Number 6, okay. I need to resist the temptation to passively be the illusion of a man for you. That guy from the man's apology video. This is hardcore Zen. Every time I remember this, it empties my fucking head. It's like the tree falling in the woods thing, except it works. I'm just, I can't even begin to even in the evening. Number 5. Compassion for ourselves. Anita Sarkeesian / Jonathan McIntosh. I think that was this year's permission to be human.
Compassion for ourselves?
Yeah, the moment they say the thing that succinctly reveals all we need to know about these people, and yet they will never understand why what they said was laughably hideous. Yes, laughably hideous. That's a thing now. You made it happen, feminist.
Yeah, no. Cersei Lannister had compassion for herself, didn't she? And so does Ramsay Bolton.
Yeah, people who don't understand how compassion works are generally called sociopaths. So, speaking of which, number 4, I could do this all day. Brianna Wu. Fuck Wu. That is all. Number 3, everything Russell Brand has ever said. Russell Brand did wonders for the cause of appropriately associating celebrity do-nothings with feminists. No quote necessary, just look up his name and behold. Number 2, everything Steve Shives has ever said. Steve Shives did wonders for the cause of appropriately associating faux skeptics with feminists. No quote necessary, just look up his name and behold. Number 1, everything Kate Brooks said and pretended she didn't really mean. No quote necessary, just look up her name and behold.
Oh.
Yes, Kate Brooks. That's
Random Markham, you dirty, filthy bastard.
She never came to us to say, oh, could you please take this video down? Didn't hear hide nor hair of any of that shit.
When you mentioned the Lacey Green, I was reminded of the time that she said something to the effect of, this feminist stuff is so overwhelming that I have to take a break to actually enjoy something.
Yeah.
And I have to turn it off and walk away. And she recommended that to other feminists that would be watching her show.
It's her conscience now. Feminism is what she calls her conscience. It's like a Jiminy Cricket thing. It's fucked up.
You know, it's like the reason why I stopped reading fiction. I stopped reading fiction because when I started writing fiction seriously and was published and had to actually like make my manuscripts super super fucking clean, because that's like my editor told me that I handed her the cleanest manuscript she'd ever seen, blah blah blah, right? The red ink that she had to put on my manuscripts was like so minimal, it was like not even working. She told me she would freaking load my manuscripts when I submitted them into her freaking e-reader and read them in the tub, because she just looked at it as enjoyment, not work, right? Because she didn't have to touch them. She didn't have to do anything, right? When your internal editor is on to that degree, you cannot enjoy other people's fiction, because all you do is sit there and wonder, why the fuck does this person not own a thesaurus? Why does this person not own a dictionary? How on earth could this book have been published with the word nipple 3 times in a 80-word paragraph?
Who's the? No, never mind. There was a feminist that was talking. I think it was Kate Brooks. They used the word discourse 100 million times, but
yes.
yes, it's like somebody needs a thesaurus.
Kate Brooks. Oh my God, Kate Brooks. She really fooled everybody, didn't she?
Discourse.
You know, and I have to give it to Diana Davison. She and I have had our differences, right? She and I and John, right, have had our differences, but I have to give it to Diana for digging up Kate Brooks's actual info to find out that she is indeed a feminist campaigner. She is indeed somebody who is politically active in a feministy way. She is indeed all of the things that she told Noel Plum and Vernaculus and Sargon and all of the people who had critiqued her freaking her Oxford Union debate thing, right? She told them that she wasn't any of that. She wasn't arguing her own point of view. All of that. She had just been called in at the last minute to do this, and she just gave the best argument that she could as devil's advocate, essentially, right? And she wasn't arguing her own opinions, but the opinion of the con side, right? In reality, she's a fucking dyed-in-the-wool feminist.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Mike,
I wonder why
She has this extra layer of like agency protection. It's like not only did I not say these things, I'm not even who I am.
yes.
And she took a route that no one else took, because most feminists would just straight up play the victim and say, "Oh, take this down, it's just hate." But she actually she even shut that bit off of her brain and went to people saying, "No, I don't believe the things I say, even though I blatantly do believe the things I say. They're evolving. They're learning.
They're
Clever
learning.
girl."
Yeah, no, she is the most devious and the most dangerous kind of feminist, because she's actually, you know, she's consulting on frickin' committees at the European fucking Union or some shit on women's equality, right? That's what she does for a fucking living, right? And yet she's telling people like, you know, Vernaculus and Noel Plum and Sargon that, oh yeah, no, I don't know whether I'd call myself a feminist. I mean, I believe in women's equality, but you know.
Yeah.
And then you watch the Sargon interview, and he just and every time she parrots all the SJW things. I'm like, of course she's fucking one of them.
Yeah,
She's
no, and every time he brings up an men's rights issue, her like eyes glazed over, and she's just like, just fucking stop talking, Sargon, stop talking.
Men. Am I right? Men.
Am I right? Yeah, no, I can't even.
Okay, I just want to point something out. That you're right. She didn't actually approach us, and I wonder why.
Well, I offered it to her twice.
Oh, did you?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's interesting.
I extended a hand.
I thought it was just like somebody random who'd suggested she come on our thing, and she had just didn't bother. But if you offered twice, and she was like, yeah, no thanks. Yeah, no, that tells you.
Says something.
And like, I never name my response videos after the I never title them with the name of the person I'm responding to, except that one time when I called it Kate Brooks versus the Desk. Not hide, not hair. Over Kate Brooks saying, "Could you please take this down?" Maybe she laughed as well. I don't know.
Oh, you know, I actually thought that maybe she had contacted you and you'd just been like, fuck you, bitch.
I don't
But
think she wants to
didn't.
open up the can of worms that is us.
probably not.
Kate Brooks, you're not ready.
No, well, the world isn't ready, really. Otherwise, the world would subscribe to us a great deal more.
She should just go like just baby steps. Talk to Milo next, and then when you're ready, you can come over here.
Oh,
You should come into the acid bath.
You can't just call this men hating on you. Oh shit! This isn't just men hating on you. It's women. Yeah, it must be women hating on you. Yeah, yeah. Think of a different ad hominem now. Come back when you're ready.
All
well,
right.
it's just our internalized misogyny, Doctor.
It's all that soggy knees.
Yes,
Yeah.
you guys are Uncle Tamaras.
Or tamales. Yep.
Uncle Tamales.
Okay, finish off, Brian.
Yeah, I got some more feminist quotes. So, because I just liked so many, and I couldn't like really pick just a few. So, James Marshall Crotty, who writes for the Huffington Post, all I'm going to give you is the article headline: "In San Bernardino shooting, patriarchy pulled the trigger." There it is. That's all. That's all.
That's like 100 times better than the, we need to do something about this white male hypermasculinity, which was a lot of the freaking tweets about the San Bernardino shootings before it was revealed that it was actually a Muslim husband and wife team.
Yeah, well, that's why this guy waited until after he got all the facts to tell us it's still the patriarchy. Lacey Green, literally everything is problematic. Which correlates nicely and dovetails nicely into Anita Sarkeesian. Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out. And I will beat this one into the ground because the fact that no one could see just like what her mental processes are when she said that on that panel and just put it out there and everyone clapped because they were just, yes, I know what you mean. That is so telling. All right. Bahar Mustafa, you may know her of the hashtag #KillAllWhiteMen fame. She said, and I quote to someone on Twitter, "You deserve to be raped in every hole by hordes of Muslims." Okay. She seems like a really nice lady.
She really does.
And, yeah. Lori Penny wrote in an article, quote, "Innocent until proven guilty is the cry that goes up every time a woman, then 2, then 5, or 10, or 20 women come forward to accuse a powerful man of abuse. What this means in practice is that we should always assume that women are lying until a judge says otherwise. In other words, shut the hell up. In other words, don't rock the boat."
Oh my God.
Oh God, I know it's gonna. All right.
There's another Lori Penny quote that's related to this one, and I'm almost at the end. So, another Lori Penny quote: "The reputation of men has historically been valued higher than the safety of women."
That is
That's what
such fucking bullshit. The safety of men has been always reckoned lower than the reputations of women. Oh, I don't know, men fighting duels over a woman's honor? Does she fucking even know?
What are you talking about, Karen?
Lori Penny.
What are you talking about, Karen? I distinctly remember it was women fighting duels over the men's honor, not men fighting duels over women's honor. I mean, this is the patriarchy. Goddammit, it's 2015.
That's right.
Why are the women dueling over men's honor?
You guys do realize that when Lori Penny was on the news, she is described as a professional feminist. That's her job.
Oh, professional.
Professional feminist. Yes, she was the strange-looking person with the fedora in the photo in the news. Lastly, one of my
But you,
favorites.
you can't even be a professional capitalist. Apparently,
No,
the entire first world of ours is capitalist, but you still can't be a professional
like
capitalist.
you have to actually produce something.
Yeah. Imagine
I
that.
think there's the rub.
Well, feminists produce sympathy and guilt and
Grievances,
yeah,
complaints,
grievances.
whining. Yeah.
All right, and lastly, PC principle. All I know is that I don't speak up for minorities so that I can crush pussy. And
Okay.
that's PC Principle's quote. Also, Leslie, put a fucking sock in it. That's those are the PC Principle quotes.
All right. Hey, Mike, are you ready with the YouTube poop? Are you ready with the blasters? Are you gonna acknowledge me at all? Am I
Shit,
just
sorry, I
gonna
didn't realize I was
shout into
muted. Sorry.
silence?
Yeah, I didn't realize I was muted. Sorry. Yes, I've just uploaded it and listed to the channel.
You
I'm
have to
about
select
to
Mike.
give you the link.
All right. Well, actually, oh, you uploaded it. So, Brian,
Yeah.
if you can select that and
Yep,
play it.
I'm doing it.
You know, you can play it off of your computer too, Mike. But while we're waiting, since
Anyone who's used to doing the screen sharing can do it.
I
Eh?
can do it. I can do it.
all right. Well, while
I
we're waiting-
also what's the best? I also had like a best anti-feminist quote. One was from Shannon. While I'm getting this set up, as I am doing this right now, she said she had a conversation with an abortion feminist. The abortion feminist said, "Stay out of my vagina." And Shannon, liberal lunacy, she said, "No one wants in there." And of course, I think my favorite anti-feminist quote isn't even an anti-feminist quote, but it certainly created a lot of rage. Is Milo? We're talking about men, darling. That's
Okay, but before okay, I'll take over for a bit so you can cue this up, and just do the brief shill. Next week's topic, if anybody who's listening wants to give in a suggestion, send in a mail. Next week's topic is how to help men through the holidays, because there's a lot of depression and emotional issues dealing during the holidays for a lot of guys, because they don't have their families, they're estranged from their kids, that sort of thing. So if you can send your suggestions to how to help men through the holidays to topic@badgerpod.com, that would be great. Once again, that's topic@badgerpod.com. Oh, Hannah says she has quotes. Hannah, how many quotes do you have?
Oh yeah, Hannah does have quotes.
I actually did not do 10. I only did, well, I'm same old kid that never did her homework right. But I only did a few. And I didn't pick stuff from this year. I picked an attitude from this year that was rather prevalent this year. So feminists have boundary issues is sort of the theme of mine. And the things I chose them because all year I've had a consistent issue with feminists forgetting their roots and the roots of their ideology in the course of demanding all women's loyalty and consent to be represented by feminism, and demanding that any group that is not feminism take a back seat to feminist claims about women's needs. And so my quotes all are sort of based on that forgetting their roots, forgetting that their roots are actually in that same set of boundary issues, and putting those boundary issues on displays. The first one is Mary P. Koss. Mary P. Koss explained her belief that intercourse forced on a male victim by a female perpetrator could not be considered rape, even when the victim does interpret his experience that way. According to page 206 of her 1993 paper, Detecting the Scope of Rape, a review of prevalence research methods, she says, although consideration of male victims is within the scope of the legal statutes, it is important to restrict the term rape to instances where male victims were penetrated by offenders. It is inappropriate to consider as a rape victim a man who engages in unwanted sexual intercourse with a woman. At no point would feminists ever accept describing a woman's rape experience as engaging in unwanted sexual intercourse with a man. Feminists do not acknowledge that women have agency to begin with. They don't acknowledge women's role in consensual sexual encounters, much less they would never acknowledge that a woman might capitulate and engage in unwanted sexual intercourse with a man because of coercion. No, he's dominating her. But the moment that happens to a man, the moment a man is raped or a boy is raped, he's engaging. The agency is still on him. He's engaging, and we can't call it rape because, he's the guy that's in charge, even when he's being victimized. So there's Mary Koss, and Mary Koss's boundary issues. She gets to define everybody else's experiences for them. You don't get to define your own experiences. And then we have Germaine Greer. Germaine Greer says, I know that the only people who are supposed to like looking at pictures of boys are a subgroup of gay men. And then she went on to say, well, I'd like to reclaim for women the right to appreciate the short-lived beauty of boys, real boys, not simpering 30-year-olds with shaved chests. Both were from the same paragraph. Germaine Greer wrote an article about her book, The Beautiful Boy. The article was titled, was titled Country Notebook, Beautiful Boys Cause Bedlam, published in the Telegraph, December 7, 2002. So that's not actually that old. And the boy who was pictured on the cover of her book says his picture was used against his will. And had he known about the book, he would not have given his permission. He stated that he had a feeling of being utilized that was close to distasteful. So here we have a feminist pedo, basically, who's also disparaging gay men as pedos because they're gay, and who feels entitled to steal other people's images in order to engage in her appreciation. It's appreciation when women do it. If men are looking at pictures of teenage girls, that's very, very rapey. But when women do it, it's just appreciation, right?
God damn it, Germaine Greer. Ooh.
Yeah. Boundary issues. So she gets to define what it means to be a gay man. She gets to define what the boy's experience is. She gets to define what constitutes and does not constitute pedophilia or attraction to minors. And of course, 30-year-olds are simpering and have shaved chests. Men can't actually be adults. Men can't actually have aesthetic preferences about themselves. It's all her choice, her definition. Now this next one is a little bit of a different approach to boundary issues. This is Susan B. Anthony. In debates at the American Equal Rights Association meeting in New York City, December 14th, 1869, she said, if intelligence, justice, and morality are to have precedence in the government, let the question of women be brought up first, and that of the Negro last. She stated that women's voting rights should take precedence over black voting rights if intelligence, justice, and morality are to have precedence in the government.
Whoa.
Oh, yeah, no. Totally fucking racist.
Your rights don't matter until my rights are secured.
Her and Elizabeth Cady Stanton were, like, so fucking racist. And, like, the horrible thing is they were involved in the abolitionist movement, but then they turned around and started describing women as the new Negroes, and they started saying things like, if we give blacks the vote before we give women the vote, what will become of our innocent white daughters? And black women will be subjected to an oppression worse under their own men, worse than what they ever experienced during slavery.
Yep, boundary issues. We get to describe the kind of people you are, and you can't contradict us. We get to define the kind of people you are, and we get to decide that our rights are paramount to yours. And we will use defamation of and denigration of your entire race to achieve that. That is boundary issues, feminist boundary issues. And I put links to all of these, to the context for all of these. There was a larger paragraph that contained more of that, and the rest of the discussion and more about the meeting. It's an archived link. So if the original comes down, the archive is what I posted. The next one is Jessica Valenti. And this was in response to discussion that took place on Twitter shortly after hashtag Women Against Feminism was started. Jessica Valenti was on vacation at the time that hashtag was started, and she stated that she was popping in from her vacation. She had to come back from her vacation to Twitter just to say this because it was so important. Hashtag Women Against Feminism shouldn't worry. Even if they don't believe in us, we'll keep on fighting for them.
Ooh.
Like, you don't get to decide what you accept or reject. You don't get to decide whether feminists represent you, ladies. You don't get to decide how you feel or what you think about politics. We're going to claim to speak in your name no matter what. We're going to claim to speak in your name regardless of what you think, regardless of your political opinions, regardless of whether or not you consent to us claiming to represent you. That's what that statement was about, which is why I paired an image of that with with overenthusiastic. That and the fact that her picture looks similar to overenthusiastic girlfriend. So the link actually goes to the image I made of that.
Awesome.
And those are my quotes. Feminists have boundary issues.
Allison?
I could add to that, just from what me and Karen rant zerked about today, Clementine Ford, when she did a TEDx talk on rape culture. And during the talk, she described how at lunch or dinner or just eating with her boyfriend told her, "Can we get through one meal without you bringing up the topic of rape?" And she replied to that, "Can we go one revolution of the earth without me being more afraid than you?" And then she said, "But of course I already know that he's statistically more likely to be subject to violence." So what we have is a situation where one person is bringing up a sexual topic, another person is saying, "Please stop," and the first person is guilting the second person for telling them to stop with something they know is an actual lie. So in other words, she in a talk on rape culture, in which she says she's representing rape victims, or at least the ones that she cares about. She essentially gives an anecdote in which she describes sexually harassing and violating the sexual boundaries of her boyfriend. And nobody in that entire audience it never even occurred to them. It never even occurred to them. And then she continued and granted upon herself the right to violate everyone's sexual boundaries by saying, "I can make anyone as uncomfortable as they want with my speech." You know, because morality, because reasons, because feminism. Feminism, she's literally granting herself the right to sexually harass people by bringing up intimate, uncomfortable sexual scenarios in their presence, even after they say they don't want her to. Rapey, thy name is feminism.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like boundary issues.
Like, we understand that men are not more prone to violence, but they're certainly better at violence than women. So we understand that men should not abuse this power. And can we admit as a society that women are better at lying than men are, and that they shouldn't abuse this power?
Mm-hmm.
Well,
all right.
I'm not so sure I'm convinced that men are. I think that
women are better at lying. Women are better at lying.
And they're also better at damseling. Women are better at lying because the neoteny.
Damseling is lying.
And like I said, it's not that men are more violent than women, but they are better at it because they're stronger or whatever. That's
But yeah, women are better at lying because the neotness look of women's faces makes it easier to appear innocent when you're not. You just give that bat your eyelashes, wide-eyed innocence. You don't even have to actively lie. All you have to do is let people just sit there and believe what they want to naturally believe about you, because you look innocent and you look helpless and you look weak and you look,
Actually, I've
your
seen that.
appearance begs people to want to protect you.
I've seen that expression. Like there was the female sociopath who encouraged her boyfriend to commit suicide.
The Bo Peep look.
Yeah, she had that open-mouthed, upward turned eyebrows, like I'm just a little kitten. Of course, when she would alternate between that look and this look of sinister, like almost like snake-like reptilian self-satisfaction, and it was a little bit
can
disturbing.
get away with because people don't see it. Like you can have
That's
that.
the only way in which women are massively disrespected, is people or men do not give them credit for being extremely good at manipulation. They're massively good at lying and manipulating, and that is something that needs to be recognized about women and respected for, because it is a very powerful weapon.
Well, it worked with what's her name when she was on Sargon's show, didn't it?
Kate Brooks.
Yep.
Yeah, it didn't work with me, but
well, it's because you're a woman. You can spot her shit.
Yeah,
and that's why feminists can get away with quote unquote just asking questions.
Okay. This is what me and Karen, I don't know, Karen's skeptical about this, but what I've pointed out in almost every analysis of a feminist talking, there will be these moments where this grin slithers over their face, and yes, it is a predatory smile. And it's like...
wow.
No, there's a difference, all right? A real
micro
smile...
expressions.
A real smile engages the eyes, and it isn't like lopsided. What they would do would be this predatory smirk, like something out of A Clockwork Orange. And it would just be these moments, and it would be repeated over and over and over again. And it's like, yeah, and people don't even notice that. I mean, how can you allow yourself to be lectured to morally by someone who's smirking like the fucking Joker? It's ridiculous.
Well, because they're cute, Allison. They're cute.
Are they that cute when you recognize the smirk on their face?
Yes.
But they're victims, and they deserve to have any kind of pushback they want because they've just been victimized for so long. Oh my God.
And the big problem is people don't recognize the smirk on their faces. People ignore the smirk on their faces in favor of the eyelash batting and the wide-eyed innocence.
It's very difficult to tell the difference between a contemptuous smirk and a nervous smile. A lot of us smile and laugh at completely inappropriate junctures, because that's the way the fucking brain works. And if you start judging people for that, then people are going to start judging you for the same thing, and you'll have to explain why you smiled at an inopportune moment. And it seems to me like the wrong argument to have.
Yeah, but it's so consistent every single moment. Not every single moment. Sometimes they have this affectation of earnestness, but then you stop them at another moment, and it's the same expression, and it's the same expression over and over and over again. Doesn't matter which person we queue up in the rant zerker. If you pause it enough times randomly, you will get that expression. You will find it. And it's just random.
It's a cue that, combined with their ideas, when you hear them, you're like, whoa, that's a bad combination.
It's that
we do a lot of sort of nervous smiles when we're sort of explaining very dark things, and I'm just picturing feminists looking at us and saying, well, look at you, you're smiling while describing dark things, and then we'll have to explain, well, no, it's not a contemptuous smirk, it's a nervous smile, and then it gets very difficult to pick the differences apart,
Well,
like with me, like even in my video that I uploaded yesterday, I was smiling when I was fucking poning those stupid cunt feminists from SFU, right? I was smiling when I was talking about male suicide. I was smiling when I was smirking. I had a one-sided smile. I was like, yeah, no, I fucking owned you. right?
Ponage.
Ponage, wreck,
Ponage.
fuck
Yeah, but
it.
there is a difference. You actually care. So you can say, yeah, I'm saying something difficult and hard, and I have a smile on my face, but I actually give a shit.
Well,
These,
This all sounds subjective. They could say exactly the same thing, sure.
yeah.
well, yeah, I see what I see.
This is one of these moments where if Karen had done that, I would have just typed "get wrecked, scrub," because that's Twitter for me.
Well, okay, but wait a second. Karen, you're owning people based on their behavior and based on what they've said to you. And
Yeah.
that's where the smile is coming from, is that you have got them in, you're pointing out their behavior and you're pointing out their illogic. These women are going up and they are smirking about saying the most horrific things about men.
Yeah.
And
I think that it's coming from I think that the reason why there's a subtle difference between these two things is perhaps the same reason why there's a subtle difference between justice and vengeance. And what feminists are often looking to accomplish comes from a place of vengeance against men, against eternal oppression, against the patriarchy. They're justified in everything they do because men are getting their comeuppance, and it's about time. And this isn't about balance for them. This isn't about justice. This isn't about like doing what's right. This is about getting something personal that they think that was taken from them back, and it comes from a place of revenge.
I agree.
It's essentially what it is, and that's why I think that the smiles are different.
I would never actually eject a feminist from one of my events ever. In fact, there was a feminist at the SFU talk that I did on toxic femininity, and I was actually, she came up to me after the talk and she told me, like, I identify as feminist. I understand that men can be victims of blah 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 blah, right? And I said, I wish I had known that there were feminists in the audience. I would have put my usual caveat. I'm not talking about every single feminist on the planet here, right? I'm talking about feminism and the underlying beliefs that underpin most of the feminist movement's advocacy and their beliefs, right? That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about every single person who identifies as a feminist, right? So, I mean, like, that was what happened when a feminist in my audience took, umbrage, at being maybe feeling singled out or maybe feeling like I was being unfair to her, right? Was, I wish I'd known you were there. I would have actually made a disclaimer at the beginning saying I'm not talking about every single feminist, right? Because we're all working in good faith here, right?
I'm gonna interrupt for a second because I just realized I can actually back what Mike's saying in this. There is an extremely subtle difference between a smirk and a wry grin. And a smirk is what you do when you're hammering home something that you feel is going to dominate when you've gotten one over on somebody. And a wry grin is what you're going to do when you have a point that you know is so solid that nobody can counter it. And it's very they're very close together, and so are those two things. One of them is people aren't going to get what I just did here. I'm going to slip this under the radar. Smirk. The other one is people can't counter this because it's rock solid and it's dark. Wry grin. And they look the same, and they can be taken the same. They can be mistaken for the same thing, and they will get treated the same very frequently by an opponent who is invested in disagreeing with you. And
I think there's another element to this too.
It's a matter. It's not a matter of whether you're right in what you're saying or not about the smile and everything. It's a matter of whether it can be solidified, and it can be demonstrated, and it can be articulated without having it simply get turned around and thrown back by someone who feels justified and can articulate their sense of feeling justified and turning it around and throwing it back better than you can articulate without sounding like you're backpedaling or mansplaining or femsplaining or whatever, better than you can articulate why it's different.
Okay, there's also another element to this. And you know what? I invite people to look at my videos and point out if I have engaged in a wry grin where they think it's inappropriate, or a snide grin, or a predatory grin. Feel free. Now, I think there's another element to this. It's when and in what context this grin comes out. Because there is, like, you can tell. Like, you look at Alec from a Clockwork Orange. That is a predatory grin. There's no doubt about it. What the time when this grin comes out with feminists is when they are, and you pointed out exactly. It's a grin of I got you. I've scored a point. Now it's when they're describing male violence as they see it, and they are looking like they've scored a point. Like they've just scored something over in this cosmic whatever point match, that they have got one over by describing men as violent. Now, why would you feel like you had a point over someone in that circumstance?
Well, because you know that you have just dehumanized them to your audience.
Yeah. So, when Karen is grinning with a wry or even a smirky grin, and she's literally gotten a point. She's literally scored a rhetorical point, or she's torpedoed a bit of a faulty logic. That makes complete sense because she has scored a point. But when you're saying something like men are more violent, men are more rapey, and then that grin comes out, what point have you scored? Like, why do you feel wryly and smugly self-satisfied about it? And that's sort of what I'm getting at. Yes, we should wrap this up. I apologize.
Right.
I hear complete silence because everybody's probably...
No.
I just think the arena of facial expression is a very difficult place to have any argument. Everyone feels like an expert on facial recognition because everyone feels like an expert on consciousness, right? Because everyone has one. Similarly, everyone feels like an expert on facial expression because as animals go, we're completely wired to see facial expression. It's largely how we communicate. We're more so than most other animals. So everyone feels like they have a model of how facial expression works and how to take the cues, but they're not all the same.
But I can recognize when someone has an expression of "I've scored a point," and I can
it's very
connect
difficult to explain why it's different from anything
Well, no,
else.
it's not. It's the difference is Karen has legitimately scored a point. Feminists are asserting that men are violent or rapey or uniquely violent or rapey is scoring a point. They have an expression like "I just scored a point." Well, in what game?
So you're saying when someone says it's 2015, they've scored a point.
Yeah, or something.
No, because when he said it, it was like I'm stating this really obvious thing, which has the answer wrapped up in it, and you if you're a decent person, then you'll understand everything that needs to be said by the fact that I said it's 2015, and I don't have to actually make any logical arguments against the question that's being posed because it's 2015. Like that's why it's so funny, because he said it as though it was legitimate, and he smiled as though I just gave you a legitimate answer. It was also snarky and smug and condescending, dismissive. It had everything wrapped up in it. And there was something that comes with it, like I win. And because it's followed by cheers, I also have the popular opinion backing it up that essentially proves I win the popularity contest. I don't need logic, and that's it. So it's about what's being said that goes with it rather than just the action itself. I mean, that's what I think.
My worldview has been presumed valid. It's 2015. How dare you not have adopted it by now?
I just think that it is capable to discern that smiles come in different ways. And you can do it visually by the interaction between the smile and the eyes, and also the symmetry of the smile. So, and also the conjunction between the smile and, like if you have a snide smile, if I want to point and you've actually run a rhetorical point, that's understandable. But how is asserting that men are violent a rhetorical point that you've won? That's what I'm getting at.
Right.
Okay, I think everybody wants to end, and Mike probably wants to kill me, so let's go.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and play this video.
I can see it in your predatory smile.
Yeah, it's in your face. Look at that expression. So before we do, I wanted to point out we were talking about is rape worse than death? And I think that rape is worse than death, and the only reason why is because there's no such thing as rape metal. There's only death metal. So
challenge accepted.
Therefore, death is better.
Yes. And on that note, I'm gonna go ahead and play the YouTube poop. Please.
Yes, we shouldn't vote. We're silly little women. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Are you going to give me a thank you for that, or you're just going to keep on blah-blah-blah on that? Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a horse crap honey badger sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a human shit sandwich. In Britain, don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. In Saudi Arabia, they all sound like extraordinary expenses to me. Yes, we should vote.
Brian! We can't see your video. You turned it off.
You can't see the video? What?
No, we can't, because you turned it off at the beginning because your Doge was glitchy or something.
I did what? All right, hold on. Do I have to? I don't get it. All right, how about now? Is it still not showing? Because I'm seeing it.
I'm not seeing it.
Still not showing.
All right, let me.
This is the technical issues portion of the channel.
I'll stop sharing.
That was the first 8 minutes when we weren't on the air yet.
I'll play it. I'll play it. I'm sharing.
Yeah, you go ahead. I'll mute.
This is awesome.
See, a couple of weeks ago we were all Dean Esme, now we're all Sharon.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, you can see this?
Shouldn't vote. We're silly little women. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Are you going to give me a thank you for that, or you're just going to keep on blah-blah-blah on that? Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a horse crap honey badger sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a human shit sandwich. In Britain, don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. In Saudi Arabia, they all sound like extraordinary expenses to me. Yes, we shouldn't vote. We're silly little women. Hams, blah-blah-blah. Blah, hams, blah-blah-blah. Gonna keep on blah-blah-blah. Gonna keep on blah-blah-blah. Gonna keep on blah-blah-blah. Yes, we shouldn't vote. We're silly little women. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Are you gonna give me a thank you for that, or you're just gonna keep on blah-blah-blah? Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a horse crap honey badger sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a human shit sandwich. In Britain, don't make me a ham sandwich. Don't make me a ham sandwich. In Saudi Arabia, they all sound like extraordinary expenses to me. Yes, we shouldn't vote. We're silly little women. Hams, blah-blah-blah. Hams, blah-blah-blah. Gonna keep on blah-blah-blah. Gonna keep on blah-blah-blah. Gonna keep on blah-blah-blah. Yes.
I thought 2 repeats would be enough.
Oh
I didn't have time for a 10-hour version, but
Go. Okay.
No, like it was like it kept on cutting me off when I was about to say, now you're just being ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
That was what I was saying. Whenever I started saying now, it was like, now you're just being ridiculous.
Yeah.
Like, what was he saying about we don't want to vote? Is that feminist canard about women who object to feminists claiming that men can't be raped and object to the feminist lobby against male victims receiving help? So because we don't want a right to vote?
No. It was because I wouldn't thank the suffragettes, because I disagreed with their. I disagreed with the way that they changed the landscape of rights and responsibilities. and I informed him that when a poll was taken in the 1870s, 1880s, right, that about 70% of women didn't want the vote.
Hmm.
They didn't
Well,
want it because they didn't want the responsibilities that they believed went along with it.
and they ended up getting the right to vote without those responsibilities.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. But I said, and then he said, oh, and women in Saudi Arabia love the burqa and blah, 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 and yeah, yada, 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 and blah, 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 and make me a ham sandwich.
You know, the stupid thing about that is that that modern feminists have a habit of denying the political landscape that took place during the suffragette era. They don't acknowledge the fact that during the time period the suffragettes started their battle, 1 in 5 men could vote in the UK.
Yeah,
1 in 5.
Yeah, no, and here's the thing, and they don't want to admit that 70% of women in the UK, or at least of the women who cared enough about the issue to answer the postcard polls that were given, right, did not want the vote because they did not want the responsibility, that women were among the most vehement anti-suffragettes out there, that and here's the fucking thing, because I was trying to do research on a specific anti-suffragette. She had written a whole bunch of essentially political booklets, right? Like little booklets that you would just give away, right? You wouldn't sell them, but you would just give them away. And she had written a whole bunch of them. And I found her on Wikipedia under the anti-suffragette page or something like that, right? So I clicked on her name, and her name, that link led me not to any of her activities, not to any of her accomplishments, not to any of her writings, not to anything. It led me to her husband's page, Lord something or other, where she was only listed as his wife, who was a politically active woman and who bore him 4 children or something like that, right? That's all it said about her on the one Wikipedia link of her name. She's been erased from fucking history.
All right. So I just wanted to before I ended, I just wanted to let you guys who are listening know, ask you, what is a feminist quote that you liked from 2015 that we didn't mention and you thought was really interesting? Put it, leave a comment, and let us know what your thoughts are on that. Also, maybe Mike needs to get like some kind of software that lets him auto-tune so that he can make this stuff even better. And so, could go to his channel and support it, and then he can get some auto-tuning stuff, right? Mike? That'd be cool.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah,
if I had that, I'd sing better in the first place.
No, you sing fine.
Yeah, I was going to say, what's wrong with your singing? Your singing is good.
And,
well, I think it was to make the mixtapes of, like, of that jank thing, to turn it into a song by, like, just auto-tuning everything.
Yeah, like Bed Intruder and stuff, and like, you can't.
Ain't nobody got time for that. Ain't nobody got time for that.
No, ain't nobody got time for that. Yes, dead giveaway. And yeah, so just consider, the Patreon is patreon.com/honeybadgerradio, and our email, if you want to send us mail stuff, is topic@badgerpod.com. It's just too much.
Do you want me to pull in here? Because I can help out if you wish. And even though I feel like I have offended Mike.
No, I don't think anyone.
You always think you've offended me, woman.
Are you offended by that, Mike?
Yes.
Make me hug you to death again.
Oh my God! And you could do it, but no. Here's the deal. You decide how big you want Honey Badger Radio to be. And you do that by giving us resources. We will build it.
Yes,
I was going to say, we will build it if you come, but that
we're growers. We're growers, not showers.
We're growers, not showers.
Oh,
no. Okay, no.
Alice.
Okay, all right.
What kind of disgusting, nasty, horrible, evil, filthy rhetoric are you engaging in? If you build it, they will come. If they come, you will build it. What the fuck are you even talking about, Allison?
Okay, well, let me try to clarify, scary, sexy Karen. I'm doing a lot of awkward smiling at the moment. All right.
Looks like a predatory smile to me.
Oh, it might be. It might be a secret predatory smile. Maybe I'm luring scary, sexy Karen deeper into the lair, and then I will unleash my traps.
There we go. I will admit to having a predatory smile every time I hear Karen's sexy voice.
You guys are all hosers.
Okay.
Kind of smile.
I'm going to try to clarify. Not that you will come, but that if you give us resources, we will build it bigger. Oh, God, that didn't work.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. Just end it. Just end it. Just